Oké, goedenavond. Dames, meerdere, volgens mij, en heren, welkom. Mooi dat jullie er zijn. Ik ben vandaag overvallen dat ik de boel mag introduceren. Dat zal wel lukken, denk ik. Want ik heb voor jullie een fantastische gast geregeld.
Kijken.
Heel onlangs. Het verhaal zal hij voor een groot gedeelte in het Engels doen. Filmpjes, geluid, er zal wel veel Nederlands bij zitten. Ik hoor een telefoon. Het verzoek is natuurlijk om de telefoons even uit te zetten. Ook niet op trillen, want dan hebben we de hele tijd dat gedoe. En gewoon even uit, de trillfunctie uit. Een paar mededelingen die behandeld zijn. Als je nog niet getekend hebt voor je aanwezigheid, dan moet je zorgen dat je dat straks in ieder geval nog even doet. En Harry zal bij de desk zitten. We hebben straks om rond 8:30, ik geef er wel het signaal in, moet mij even geven wat voor jou handig is om een pauze te hebben. En in die pauze er zijn 6 koffieautomaten daarachter. Dus je moet een beetje verdelen, dat je niet allemaal voor dezelfde automaat in de rij staat. En dan even over de inleider. Joel, welkom. Ik kan het in Nederlands doen, hè? Want je begrijpt alles. Joel is een voor mij in ieder geval zeer gerespecteerde collega. En ik kan wel zeggen, van mij uit op zeer vriendschappelijk niveau. Als collega's, we kennen elkaar uit de Nederlandse Eredivisie. Een cv om de vingers bij af te likken. Kampioen geworden in Nederland. 2 keer kampioen in België. Belgische volleybalschool, dus het lijkt beter op dan wat wij in Nederland afleveren. Bondscoach van Finland, inmiddels. Ja, vorige week zijn we naar Finland gegaan en weer teruggekomen omdat deze afspraak hier stond. Ik ben hartstikke blij dat je er bent. Ja, je neemt ons vandaag mee in je geschiedenis rondom volleybal, volleybalschool, Maaseik, je eigen verleden. Misschien dat we vragen hebben die gericht zijn ook op de toekomst. Ik heb zelf nog wel een paar vragen over het Nederlands trainersgilde in vergelijking met het internationale gilde. En ook waar we zouden kunnen komen met de Nederlandse spelers op internationaal niveau. En morgen heel veel praktijk. En we hebben een mooi demo voor. En gewoon in ieder geval 1 speler die aanwezig is, Mats, waar ben je? En hij zal nog ook in demo team zijn.
Ik zie Marco en Misha, dus we hebben wel gespeeld. Die kennen we wel wat.
Ga je gang, maken we er moois van. Jullie veel plezier.
Thank you. Cheers. Thank you very much. Rebecca, thank you for the nice introduction. It's not too loud with the microphone, it's okay? Okay, good. Before I forget, it's been an honour to be invited to NVVO clinic. Clinic, talking about volleyball, talking with other coaches, it's all our passion, it's our love of the game. I like to talk to people that know me, for sure Walter and Raul. I talk a lot, sometimes too much. But please, if there's questions, or if there's something you think is worth discussing, or just some different ideas, put your hand up and let's talk about volleyball. The idea of the presentation tonight is a look behind the screens in Maaseik, a little bit my own vision of like what's happened these last 3 years. So I've been in Maaseik 1 year as assistant coach and 2 years as head coach. Before that the volleyball school, like Rebecca said, before that worked in Holland, etc, etc. But it's just some ideas. I hope that it's interesting. There's some things about Maaseik with the matches and the way we do our recruitment, the way we do our work. But I like to talk, so please, if there's questions, ask. If it's a pause and we have a coffee break, I took the initiative of bringing some of these post-it notes. I'm going to put them over here. Write your question on the post-it note and stick it on this green thing. And I can take it off afterwards. I can read it and I'll try and answer it. Please, not really difficult questions. Just like normal questions. Good. Okay, good. So tonight the idea is some PowerPoints with some videos, with some films, with some music. But the idea is it's in three parts. One part is general look behind the work in Maaseik. One part, which I hope is interesting, is a full season overview of my first year as head coach. So that was last season, season 17-18. And then the third part is a season overview of this year, but in comparison to last year. And that's where I think things are quite interesting, because the two seasons were very, very different and diverse. Okay? So, good evening and welcome. As Redbad said, Joel Banks, I'm 44, from the UK, I live in Belgium, been a professional coach for 12 years. I'm currently the head coach of Maaseik in Belgium, and more recently the Finnish men's national team program. First part is about from individuals to team. So we're talking about how do we in Maaseik, how do we construct our team, and how do we try and prepare our team and then go through the season. Yeah? I'm going to start with a small film. Hopefully it works. We cross the fingers. Yes. An introduction about Maaseik. I'm sure you guys know the club, but it's a small film about the club. Okay. Obviously, we're talking about a professional club. We're talking about the top in Belgium, a club with a rich history of international volleyball, of championships, Super Cups, Champions League, so on and so forth. For sure, Marco knows because he played there for some years. What we're basically saying is that in my environment as a professional coach, I'm very fortunate and that I work in a club that has pretty much everything on it. So you can train as much as you want. The sports hall that you saw is from the club. So you can train when you want, as much as you want. You can change the training hours. You know. We share with the youth and the club members, but the first team takes priority. In that complex, you have a physio room, you have a power gym, you have a swimming pool. The players are not allowed to use the slides, but they have everything they need. I understand, because when I started coaching back in early 2000, I started at provincial level in Belgium, Provincial 2, Provincial 1, second division, and then slowly but surely I did my diplomas and I made my way up. But I never forget that when you come to these clinics and someone stands there from a particular background where they train full-time, it's my job, I do nothing else apart from coach. In a club that has paid players, 12 fully paid players and staff, etc., then it's a really golden opportunity. Because when I started, I had 2 sessions a week for an hour and a half with 12 guys that like to drink as much as they like to train, and you try and make something good from it, and you try and keep them motivated, and you try and get your results. And I used to sit there, I still do, but I used to sit there and I used to watch coaches talk about their environment, and then think to myself, well, how does that actually reflect on my environment? What can I take from this back to my club with my 2 hours or my 4 hours a week? I think it's important that we acknowledge that, because I hope that there's something you can take from today and hopefully more tomorrow perhaps, that you can take back to your teams, whichever level you operate, whether it's national level, whether it's juniors, whether it's male, female, whether it's provincial level. Yeah? So again, if there's any questions in relation to your environment, then let's talk about it and let's use the next couple of days to speak about those things. For me, this is the slide where it all really started in terms of taking over the role as head coach. I started in 2016 as assistant coach. I came out of the volleyball school. I did a 1-year assistant coach with Daniel Castellani, who's very well known and certainly has a fantastic CV in men's volleyball, been world champion, European champion, so on and so forth. But we finished that season, and he would leave and he would go to another team outside of Belgium, and the question was, would I take over? So this slide represents the very end of that season, and the point where I really had already started thinking about, okay,
Dan duiken we de zaal in. Nordico Maaseik is er niet in geslaagd om een beslissende 5e wedstrijd af te dwingen in de titelfinale tegen Roeselare. Maaseik verloor de 4e wedstrijd in Roeselare met 3-2. Het werd vrijdag dus op een nieuwe 5-zetter in de slopende titelstrijd tussen Maaseik en Roeselare. De mannen van Castellani kwamen 2-0 achter op Schiervelden, maar vochten sterk terug tot 2-2. En ook in de tiebreak is het verschil mini. Roeselare wint met 16-14 en mag zo zijn 5e opeenvolgende titel vieren. Maaseik wordt voor het 2e jaar op rij vice-kampioen.
Het is spijtig dat we niet naar een 5e wedstrijd gaan, maar we ons kansen een beetje verkeken. Hier in wedstrijd 2 en bij onze wedstrijd 3 daar ook kansen gehad. Dus ja, over de hele lijn gezien is Roeselare net iets beter dan ons op dit moment. Het is spijtig, want ik kan heel weinig afhangen.
So that's my last game as assistant coach. The season's finished. I knew that Daniel was going away, and I was already, Walt, as you saw there, Walt Weismans was already technical director, but he was filling a role as player because we had some injuries. So I start in 2016. I'm leaving the volleyball school in Vilvoorde, the top sports school in Vilvoorde. I did 3 years there. After the Olympic Games in London, I did 1 year in England and a sports academy, and then we moved back to Belgium, and then I went and took a role as head coach of the boys program in Vilvoorde and working with the Belgian junior men. End of contract was 2016, and I decided I didn't want to continue. I liked it, I'd learned a lot, but I wanted to get back into men's volleyball and performance volleyball in a club environment. Had a few things lined up, yeah, had 4 options, some options in Belgium, 1 option in Iran, 1 option in Finland. And I was about to go, literally about to put pen to paper, when I got a call from Walt Weismans. He said, listen, your name's been moving around Maaseik, how would you feel about working as an assistant coach? I'm like, well no, I don't want to be assistant coach, I want to be head coach. I'm 40, I've paid my dues, I've done my time, I want to be my own boss. Yeah, but you can work with Daniel Castellani. For me that was a big pull, something I really wanted to do, so I took a year's contract to be assistant coach with an extra 2 years extension in function of what would happen. Working with Daniel was for me a real great opportunity, fantastic guy, very knowledgeable, been around the whole world, worked with national teams. And between 2012 and 2016 I think I must have sent Maaseik about 20 emails. Without being too negative towards their current coach, I was like, listen, I'm really motivated, I'm very passionate about volleyball, surely there's something I can do for you. And they were always really polite, but it was always the doors closed, no thank you, no thank you, no thank you. So when Walt phoned me, I thought, well, maybe just one time I get my opportunity, and if I do, I'm going to take it. Yeah? Maaseik had previous to when they appointed Daniel, they had 6 coaches in 5 seasons. So after Vital Heine left, they had his assistant coach, and then the club was in quite a lot of turmoil. They had good resources, they had a good environment, but there was always something missing, and they were looking for this elusive championship win or a cup win, and despite the money that they had to spend and the players they did their recruiting, something was always missing because they were almost there, not quite, throw the coach out, get a new coach. Maaseik fired a couple of coaches mid-season, which is something they'd never done, and really they were in turmoil. It wasn't a very comfortable environment, and they were searching for stability and continuity, which for that club is very, very important. Yeah? In terms of the team construction, the video I just showed, it's easy, in my opinion, it's easy if you're assistant coach to stand and look and help your head coach, but look at like what they do or what their idea is, and then make your own choices, because it's not your plan. You have a helping hand in it, but you can see what goes well and what goes less, and you can throw your ideas in. So that's quite a comfortable, easy scenario. But then the idea is, if I had my vision, have you got the balls, to be honest, to go and implement that vision and stand by it when the going gets tough? And that was a question that they asked me about taking over. How do you feel about being assistant coach and going to a head coach role? So, well, for me, I don't see it as being a problem, because more than half of the team will leave. So if half the team leaves, those players don't see you as assistant coach, they'll see you as their head coach. But at the same time, you're in the big seat, you've got the big job, you've got to dare to make the tough calls and make sure that you, me, and the technical director, that you're on the same page. So at that time it was me and Walt Weismans that worked all the time about how we would construct the team, what money we had, what our possibilities were, and what the vision would be. Since that time, Walt then left his role. So in 2016, 17, 18, Walt was a technical director, a full-time employee at the club, and then since then he left. So last summer he left, and I took over many of his roles. So I'm actually now responsible for the sports budget, the recruitment of the team, which players stay, which players go, how long the contracts are, the medical staff, the staffing, the vision for the club, the vision for the team. So I asked the club if I could take that responsibility on, because I knew what the philosophy was, and I wanted to continue in the same way. I was very focused about protecting the way of working that we'd established. What I took into my role as head coach, and then since I've taken over a little bit more of the technical director capacity, is this idea about plan, do and review. It's a common business term, it's my business model, but I have a plan. I like to plan. I don't feel comfortable without having some organisation. Then I'm going to execute my plan, and at every stage I'm going to review, because probably I've missed something, or with hindsight there's something I would change, or maybe it went really well, in which case why did it go well? But I tried to bring a particular business model, something from my own style, the way that I like to work, into my job, as well as coaching, but also with the construction of the team. My style is really based around clear communication. That you need to make sure that the people that you work with every day, your players, young players, more experienced players, your physio, your doctor, your assistant coach, the general manager, that the communication is two-way, but it's clear. I really don't like grey. So I like black and white. I've got no problem if you tell me in my face what's on your mind. Maybe we disagree, but I want to communicate. I don't want to hear a week later that there was a problem because of something that went on and we didn't take a moment to discuss it and think about it. It needs to be clear for the players in the playbook, it needs to be clear for the players on the court, it needs to be clear for the players in the performance environment, but it also needs to be clear for the team around the team, the staff and the club. Set parameters, your 12 players, your staff, make sure that everyone knows their role, how we're going to work, what their input is, that there's some respect and trust there which we can create by our communication, and that you try and bring in your own blueprint. And my blueprint, a little bit with my experience as coach, my experience at university, my studies, my general interaction with my working life and my personal life, is to have a plan, but be honest to yourself. One example which always makes me smile, and I did this as well some years ago, is tomorrow, for sure, someone probably not now, but every other clinic, yeah, but what exercises do you use? Redbat, tell me, what exercise do you use when you train? And they look at me as if they're going to write everything down, and if you take my exercises that we use in Maaseik, then you're going to be as successful as Maaseik, or you'll suddenly be a good trainer. And it's absolute nonsense, because it's not about the exercise, it's about the philosophy, it's about your blueprint, and it's about what you think you need to bring, or what your team needs from you. And for everyone, maybe that's slightly different, maybe it's vastly different, but you've got to be honest to yourself. If I try and be Vital Heine, because Vital had an amazing career in Maaseik and he went on to coach in Germany and Poland and now he's world champion, then I'm trying to be him and not be me. And maybe I can take some lessons from that coach, but I shouldn't try and be him, I should try and be honest to myself. As far as Maaseik's concerned, in our team construction, we have budget, and we've chosen to go for 12 players. Typical, 2 centres, 2 opposites, 3 middles, 1 liberal, and 4 outside spikers. I'd like to go to 14. I've got another plan that involves a second libero and a 4th middle, maybe young Belgian guys try and develop more talent, but budget-wise, it doesn't make sense to put more expenditure into those 13th and 14th guy. When the budget went down after the video we just watched, 2016, the budget went down by about 23-25%. So we're a performance team. Yes, we try and develop all of our players. Yes, we're happy when our players are invited to a higher level or they make the next step in their career, but we're not a development team and it's okay if we finish 3rd or 4th, but we're developing young players. We're about winning. We want to get to the finals. The first goal is we want to hit every final that we play in, give or take Champions League. But everything internal, we want to get to at least the final, and when we're there, we want to win. So we have a head coach, that's me. We have a part-time assistant coach. We used to have a part-time second assistant coach. He's over there, but he stopped because his wife had a baby, which is his priorities, right, Walter? You've got to choose what you want to do in life, eh?
Yep.
T2, we've got a physio that's part-time. We've got a manager that's part-time, a scouter that's part-time. We have a medical cell of one HOSAS, like one doctor and 1 specialist, which we're very lucky because those guys, they have their own job, but they make so much time, the physio and the doctors make so much time, they give so much time to the program that it's not, they don't do it for the money, they do it for the love of helping the team. It's important, I think, when you build your program, when you start, when you take over, that you have the idea about your foundation. What's important to you? How do you want to work? For me, communication and trust is important, but also when the club said to me, okay, you can get the big job, you get to be number 1, you also want to work with people you know what they can deliver, and within financial possibilities that you know you can trust. And that's really important because you can bring your own power trainer, you can bring your own doctor, you can find a new physio, you can find a 2nd or 3rd assistant coach, but when you lose 5 games in a row and the pressure in your neck, who gets fired? The 3rd assistant, the doctor, no, the head coach. So for sure, your name is above the door and you're responsible. So the idea of having some staff that you know you can work with, that you can trust and they can deliver for you is really important. Reliability and trustworthy, really important with the people when we build our staff and our way of working. That's why I brought my good buddy, Hein McNack. As soon as I arrived in Maaseik and I took over, we moved one of the power trainers out, and I asked if we could find some cooperation with the volleyball school in Belgium to bring Hein, because I knew what Hein could deliver. I know he's got experience in Holland with the men and the women's program. He worked with me with the Great Britain program. He worked with me in Orion. I'd worked with him and brought him into the volleyball school in Vilvoorde. And it's one guy that I know that he's got my back. He's not going to do something, and when it goes wrong, say, yeah, but I told the coach, and yeah, he messed it up. No, he's a guy who's going to say, no, it's okay. Together we're going to fix it. And don't you think this? And what about this? You know what you have on this guy. And working with your colleagues that you know you can trust is really important. Redban asked me, how do we source our players? It's a good question. It starts with budget. If you're really honest, at our level, it's about what money you've got. Yeah? There's a number of important factors, but budget is for sure near the top of the list. Timing and clarity. You need to know, I need to know, if I'm in charge of the sports decisions and the sports side, when am I going to know what budget are we going to have? Is it going to be more? That's always my first question. Do we get more? Answer is, no, not at the moment. Okay, can it be the same? And what Maaseik do really well is they guarantee, so what they say they're going to give as budget, they give. They're not going to offer you 5,000 more if they're not going to, and we'll find it. No, what we say we give is what we give. Perfect. It's concrete. But you need clarity so you know what am I going to get, and how, the earlier I know what I'm going to have, then you can start making your moves in the market. A lot of it is about wants and needs. Yeah? What would you like? Well, I'd like to buy Leon, please, because if I have Leon in my team in Maaseik, I'm pretty sure we're going to win next year. Okay. Bernardi thought like this, and now they finish second. And also, what do you need? Yeah? Wants and needs. Yes, I want to make the step up. We want this player. We all want this young prospect that's going to make the difference. We all want that setter that's going to make our spikers look amazing. But what can we have within our financial constraints? What's possible within the players that we have that are under contract or are leaving, yeah, and what do we need to actually make the blueprint that we have with the players that are under contract and the players that we need. What do we need to make that work? And it's what you want and what you need is sometimes pretty different. Well, when I started with the idea of Plan Z, when we made a start, we made a plan. How much money do we have? What players are under contract? What positions do we need? And we called it Plan Z because it refers to World War Z or zombie. Because the more of this work you do, the more crazy you get, and you feel after 20 versions that you're a zombie because you stare yourself blind at this player, you do all this work and suddenly it falls away and you start again. So we update this Plan Z and we recruit through a network, through films and through highlights, network of coaches, network of managers. Yeah? The managers control the vast majority of the players, but also the moves, and I'll come back to that later on. Make sure you do your homework and get your films, get your game films, and also it starts, I tend to look at highlights, but quickly, just to see the technical. On the highlights, yeah, you can get an idea, but you need to watch 4 matches. And with this, with what you have financially, what you have, your players, you start to create this jigsaw, this puzzle, where you try and fit the pieces together. So for example, I've got 2 middle blockers under contract, yeah? I've got 1 receiver under contract, and I've got 1 opposite under contract. We look for a new setter. So if my 2 middle blockers are blockers, then my priority is not to find a setter that likes to play first tempo. If my 2 middle blockers are my best spikers, then I need to find a receiver and a setter that likes to play first tempo. Yeah? If my opposite player is by far my standout spiker, then I need to find a setter that can play comfortably backwards. It's some small examples, but when you put the jigsaw together, it's no use to go and spend a big chunk of your budget on this really big, impressive middle attacker, and then you bought your setter that doesn't like to play first tempo. It's no use. You buy a Ferrari and you fill it with diesel. It's no use. And it is a jigsaw, right? And this jigsaw goes around and around and around, and when one piece changes, you give one guy a little bit more money, or you have this plan with a receiving attacker, and the focus is on reception, and if we do this, then we make this choice in the middle and this choice on the set, and right at the end that guy says, no, I'm going to go somewhere else. Then all those pieces, they fall away and you start again. And maybe that sounds a little bit dramatic, but believe me, it's like that, and every year it's the same. And then you turn into this guy, and you go crazy. Budget is important, and one of the things that I'm really clear about with the club, when I played volleyball, I played a couple of years professional in Belgium, never at a good level, certainly not at the level of Marco and the guys in the top in Belgium, and 2 of the 3 years I didn't take my money. I got 3 or 4 months and then slowly it all fell away. But this year we've seen main sponsor pulled out in Menen, yeah, that's one of the top 4 teams in Belgium, they lost half their money. Yeah? Zersel had a big issue with the federation and said basically we're the biggest club in terms of men's teams, women's teams and children's teams in Belgium, or certainly one of the biggest. We can't sustain the statutes that you want with the number of professional players, so we're going to pull ourselves out of the A-League. So immediately they step back and we lose 1 team. Okay, it's only Zersel and they only finish in the bottom half, but that's how it starts. First it's Menen, then it's Zersel, and then slowly that trickles through. So at the moment, it's turbulent times in volleyball. I don't hear many stories in Belgium, in Holland, or with my contacts around Europe where they say, oh, this year I've got a couple of ton extra because we've got a new sponsor. No, it's always the opposite. Money's really tight, we have to go less players, we have to find some cooperation with a different sponsor, or less money and less training. It's only downsizing. I don't hear many stories about things getting better. For me, guaranteed budget is the only budget. Based on my experience 25 years ago, I'd rather have €1,000 less but know I can give it than make promises that you find out in January, February that you're going to break. It's not good for the club, it's not good for the team. You're going to have problems at the most important time of the season, and also your reputation on the market is then terrible. You have this kind of problem one time, maybe you can go through it. If you have this problem every year where you don't follow your agreements, I know players that go to Greece and they negotiate a deal for 10 months and they work on the basis of what I take in 6 months is my salary, because the last 4 months I don't receive. And that's one example. One thing I've taken from my studies, and one work that I had after the Olympics in London, I did a year as academic athletic director at Sports Academy, and my CEO said, when I give you your budget, all I want you to do is spend it like it's your own money. If you think that member of staff or that player or that piece of equipment is worth it, and you truly believe it, no problem. But don't forget you're accountable for that decision. And that's the same in Maaseik. It's never been said, but I always think about, if this was my money, would I give that guy an extra 1,000, or would I give that guy an extra aeroplane ticket? Yeah? Try and be really, really focused on what you're doing. Ideas for continuity from the club, they want to continue in the same way, but on a yearly basis, I think trainers are ambitious and you don't want to settle, you want to always try a little, improve your methods to be a little bit more efficient, build a little bit bigger, dream a little bit higher. Right? And what we try and do is probably the same as Roeselare and most of the other teams in Belgium, is we try and find within our financial possibilities a combination of homegrown Belgian talent and foreign players. The best Belgian players, they want to play outside Belgium, they want to play in Poland, they want to play in France. They want to make the step up for the level and the money, but primarily for the level. So the moment that a guy plays for Maaseik or Roeselare, the next step is predominantly outside. And what I've seen in my 3 years is the guys that want to come back, in general, they want to come back because they know Maaseik is a good club, take very good care of the players, they pay on time, and it's one of the only 2 or 3 clubs to be if you're going to come back in Belgium. But when you come back, 30, 32, 34, are you still as motivated and hungry as you were when you were 21, 22, 23 coming up? And that's an honest question, and I've had that conversation with a few players over the last couple of years, because you don't want those guys to come back and put their feet up and just relax. You want them to be motivated, but you want them to be a role model for the upcoming talent. So we're trying to find that balance of experience, but also the guys that are really hungry and they want to show themselves and they want to make those steps towards the future. Big thing for Maaseik is the Champions League is a carrot. Yeah, this is something where we don't have major money. We pay pretty well in Belgian terms, but we can't compare with Poland or Turkey, France or Russia for sure. But many players want to come to Maaseik because we have Champions League ticket, and this is really important because they want to play against the best players in the world. They want to get themselves in that environment where 5,000, 10,000, 12,000 people. Yeah? And also they know if I do a good job in Champions League, that many of the other teams go shopping in the summer for the cheaper players that play in the lower teams in their pool. Maaseik's reputation is about having 100% focus on volleyball, and that's a lot of our brand image. That's what we try and impart onto our players. So when you come to Maaseik, the club does everything it can do to make sure that your focus is 100% on volleyball, whilst we still, deep down, I try and develop all my players. Whether you're 35 and you've got another couple of years to go, whether you're 20 and you're just starting up, we try and improve tactically, technically at all levels. We try and invest in all our players. When we talk about wants and needs, you need to look at what you currently have, who's under contract, and how that has an impact on what you're going to source. What's available? We check during the season, are there players in other teams that are interesting? And then we talk about who fits with which player. We talked about the setter, the spikers, who would fit well in combination with each other. Character, but also spell techniques. In Maaseik, I'm happy to say there's no politics. I run my team and I have to account for my decisions and I account for how we play, but there's no one coming in watching my practice and saying, oh, shouldn't we be playing with a red bad and not with Marco this weekend? No, nothing, not from the president, not from the general manager. I used Walt as a sounding board as technical director, but there's no pressure from behind me about, oh, we signed one player for 100,000 euros, why is he on the bench and why are we playing with the young kid who cost us 10 euros? No, I can run my team the way I run my team, but it's not like this in every team, I assure you. There's a lot of pressure from presidents, from sponsors, that you are obliged to play with certain players. When we think about the short term and the long term plan and about what we want and what we need, what role does TSV and Papendal have to play? When you think about the volleyball school in Holland, what role do you think it has to play with regards to the top teams in Holland and the top teams in Belgium? Someone has some ideas maybe, something they'd like to say. No? Nothing? Must be quite an interesting subject. All the best talents go to the volleyball school, no? Or they're invited to the volleyball school. No one's got an opinion, really.
Yeah, not all going.
They're not all going. Okay. Someone else? Rabbi says they're not all going, okay. What role do those guys have to play, this kind of age group, and then into the top teams? So you graduate Papendal at what age, roughly? 18? Yeah, same in Belgium. And then ready for top team, ready for Roeselare, ready for Maaseik, ready for Dynamo, Lycurgus, these teams? No? No, I don't think so either. Ready for Modena, yes, this is Van den Ende. Yeah.
Sitting on the tribune.
Yeah. And I'm having this exact same conversation right now with one of my standout players from this season, because he's 21 3 weeks ago, and now his agent is telling him he can go to Italy and he's going to play in a top 8 team and he's going to be a starter. I don't think so. I think he's going to be one of the best middle blockers in the world. If in 5 years he's not in the top 5 or 10 middle blockers in the world, I will eat my hat, as they say. But that is in 5 or 10 years. Yeah? I've had players from Papendal and from the volleyball school in my squad in Maaseik, and they are disciplined, generally. They have some understanding of volleyball, generally. They've perhaps been doing physical training, yes. But are they ready to have an important role in the team? In the 12, yes, contribute something, but in the first 6, no. So when you buy a player, or you bring a player in, what we're really thinking about is they're probably cheaper, they're probably really hungry, and they're going to be a great second setter, or a great fourth outside spiker, or maybe a great third middle. But a guy like Van der Ende goes straight to Modena, so he doesn't even pass through Dynamo, Lycurgus, Maaseik, Roeselare, he goes straight to the absolute top. And how much does he play?
But Joel, who are the influences for the national coaches?
Yeah.
Because I saw an article with Vera Kunis. She said the trainers in Papendal say go to Germany or to the players.
I'm not going to badmouth any of my colleague coaches in Vilvoorde or Papendal, because I hear these rumours as well, and I've been in that environment, so for sure people say the same stuff about me. My idea is that you need to be honest, and my concept about working in a junior development squad environment like Vilvoorde is that the most important thing is the athlete. It's not me winning a medal at the European Championships. I'd like my players to, but the most important is that that kid gets a great education, a great volleyball education, that they're healthy, and that when they finish their ride, they still want to play volleyball, they've still got a passion for the sport, and they're also a more rounded human being, because they're 18 years old. They're not 28, they're 18. So my advice is not in function of me, and it's not in function of you, like you're we're friends, so I'll send him to your team. It can happen. I think what's important, and last year we had, for the first time in Maaseik, we had this cooperation where we have one boy from the volleyball school, and he comes once or sometimes twice, but mostly once a week from Vilvoorde to Maaseik, and he trains with us. And we did it the whole season, so Maaseik drove over, picked him up in Vilvoorde, drove him all the way back, he came to practice, we let him take his shower, and we gave him something to eat, and we drove him home. And we did this pretty much every week for the whole season. Great kid, worked really hard, got to the end of the season, and I said to Walt, we're not going to offer him a contract, because he's going to be 4th or even 5th on our roster, and what use is that? I've got another idea, some different things on the basis of what we did the year before with Michielaidi, for example. So I told this kid to his face, I drove over to Vilvoorde the last time, I picked him up, I drove him all the way back to Maaseik, which is an hour and a half. I said, listen, player X, we're not going to offer you a contract, face goes like this, because right now in your evolution, you need to be training a lot, you need to have a chance to play, you're ready to play in the Belgian Liga, but not for Maaseik. So maybe you should drop down, you should think about your studies. The first year at the volleyball school, you're going to need more help because you want to live life as a professional, but you want to study as well. So this kind of cooperation with these kind of steps will be good for you. Yeah? And we'll keep monitoring you and we'll stay in contact. Yeah? And I took all the way back, I explained the whole thing. And at the end, we shook hands and he got it. His dad was pissed. Really, really pissed, because why would we not offer him a contract? And it's like, I've just spent an hour and a half explaining what's the best path for your child. He's 17, 18, and you're angry with me because he doesn't get to put a Maaseik shirt on and sit the whole season on the bench. Are you kidding me? And that's one glimpse at how some people think. And again, it's a matter of who do they listen to, who gives advice, and what is the motivation of the advice. The managers, the coaches, mum and dad. Do they want to go where the money is? Do they even care about the money? They just want to wear a Maaseik t-shirt or a Modena t-shirt? recruit guys, I'm going to go a little bit quicker, but when we recruit, we see every year about 80% of the same players. So the managers send the same players 80% of the time. You get the same players, but the videos from this year, and it gets monotonous because we're looking for something different and they keep sending you the same stuff. The managers and the agents control the market. You want to speak to a player, phone Redbad, would you like to come play for Maaseik next year? Most of the time it's, yeah, you need to speak with Marco because he's my manager. Speak with Marco, yeah, maybe he goes to Italy, maybe he goes to Turkey, we're not sure yet. And then suddenly that you can't even talk to the guy and make a pitch because the agents told him this is the route. And that happens many times. The managers control which part of their list they send you for who would like to play in Belgium, who would be interested and who we can afford. And believe me, we get enough players at the end of their career in Poland that want to step back and just earn that last paycheck in Maaseik, play a bit of Champions League because it's easy in Belgium, and then they're going to put their feet up and stop. And it's crazy because we want the guys that are burning full of desire, enthusiasm, they want to play, and the managers say, no, but you can talk to this one, but not to that one. Oh, what's happening with him? I know that he goes to Italy to sit on the bench. And we try and find those guys that will do well in Maaseik, that have a fair chance of playing, that can show something. But you've got to work with the managers and try and help them to help you to do what's best for those players. Network of advice is mega valuable. Yeah? You need to have other coaches. Don't need to be your friends, but you need to be honest with each other. So if I phone Redbad and say, Redbad, about this player that plays in Holland, Redbad can feed me a line of rubbish and say, yeah, he's amazing, it's the next Leon, you should buy him. And if he comes to me and he's terrible, I'm not going to ask Redbad again. The same with me. If I give bad advice to Castellani, he's not going to ask me again for which player did I like in the Belgian Championship this year. So you need to find people that you respect, people that are going to give you an honest, straight-out answer, and then you're going to do the same, so that when you make those choices, that they're not going to say, okay, I don't ask you again because you sold me a bunch of rubbish. That's important because I'm not just looking at what I see on the highlight film, because most people look like Jeeba on their highlight film. You get the 3 balls they spike with no block and it's amazing. How many spikers send all these attacks when they make 20 points and they're blocking against a setter who's as fat as me, there's 1m83 and he blocks like this, but they make 20 points that game. Like, come on. No? It looks amazing, but he's spiking against a block like this. So you want to find out, show me the games where they lost. Show me the games where it was 3-2. Show me the body language when they're in a tough spot. Let me speak to the coach that worked with them, the coaches that coached against them, the coaches that played in that league. Yeah? Get as much detail as you can to make your decisions. Said that, it's good. Doing your homework is mega important. I'm a volleyball nut. I watch volleyball behind my laptop all the time. Genuinely love it, but what you see on the film is not enough. Technically, yeah, body language, how they touch the ball, but the kind of person, the character, the work rate, the mentality, you've got to speak to other coaches. You've got to have a network of people that you know are going to give you an honest answer. Yeah, he's a really good guy, but forget about Mondays because he goes out drinking on Saturday night after the game, and Monday it's useless. You don't see it on him, but you smell it when he sweats because he's drinking God knows how much. Now, you never see this on a film, man. Yeah. And also, don't ever forget, I've done my homework plenty of times. I've made the phone calls, the coaches, the assistant coach, the scout man, guys that have played on the same team, and you still find a wrong one. You still buy that guy, you think, yeah, I've done everything I could do, and it still doesn't click. So it's not an infallible system. You have your idea about how you want to work and how you want to recruit, but it's not always that you're going to get it exactly right. This is me. Keep calm and reload. Got to go again. It's a process, guys. You're going to get it right, you're going to get it wrong, but you've got to keep going. Just an idea. Plan Z, in my first year with Walt, we had 17-18, we had 19 versions. Last year we had 22 versions, and as of last night, I was at 24, and I still need 4 players. So it's ongoing. It's a lot of work. I turn into a Banksy zombie. This is me, because it just sends you crazy. You do so much work because money is precious. You can't afford to waste 10,000 euros, 5,000 euros, 20,000 euros. You try and do as much work as you can to find the right players. We talked about the tactical idea about the setter, the first tempo and the middles. Technical idea, the balance of the team, the profile, what kind of team do we want to have. We're a block defense team, or we're an out-and-out serve team. For me, number one, the character. I want to know the character of the players that I'm bringing to the club. The mentality. Excuse me. What is your real reason to come to Maaseik? What is your real reason? If you tell me I want to sign for 2 years because I want to do really well and I want to go and play in Italy, brilliant. You tell me, yeah, I've finished my career and I want to come back, and Maaseik's a great club, and yeah, I'm probably going to play 2 more years, and it would be nice to try and win some prizes for the club. No, thank you. Then I'd rather take the young guy with that burning desire. Yeah? We had one guy, you asked me to put some funny stories, I've got one story. We signed a guy in my first year, and this guy was a really talented player. I'm not going to give his name away, but he always, Monday he had something, and when he got to Thursday it was almost game day. So he only actually really trained Tuesday and Wednesday. Thursday a little bit, and Daniel had his experience, and he knew this kind of mentality. And you guys know Yelta Man? For sure everyone knows Yelta, right? Yelta's there, everyday training, everyday pushing. You don't go that ball, go for that ball! I'm crazy. And he's the motor, he's the engine, he's the fuel. And he's standing there and smoke is coming out of his ears because this guy's, yesterday coach. But he had this special magic physio that he saw in France. And he used to go back every 6 weeks, 8 weeks for a special manipulation. He'd come back and he would be okay for a week. Then you find out it's a female physio who does special manipulation. But this is the game. You don't know that when you sign this player. And are you going to get on his case and break him down and say it's unacceptable? And then he says, yeah, then I can't play. Or are you going to try and find some common ground and manage him and make him work for the team and make sure that he plays well with Yelta and we can find some cooperation, because at the end of the day we all want to win. We've had a couple of managers' games already this season where we're about to sign a player and then that player wants to delay because he wants to know who else is going to be in the team. And then the gossip machine starts working, and then they find out that we've apparently signed this player who they've heard isn't very good, so they're going to delay. So my answer is, okay, it's your right to delay, but in the meantime we'll look for other players. But we're also not going to be told by you or by another player who we've signed because I like to play with him. Oh yeah, but what are you going to pay this player? I said, well, we're talking about a hypothetical question that I might have signed a player that your player does or doesn't want to play with. Like, it's all pipe dreams. Yeah, but how much do you pay? Because I've got a player for you. It's much better. And then you realise that what he's really saying is, if you want my player, then you need to sign another player from me that he likes to play with. You think, oh, Matthew, are you crazy? I do have the idea, and I don't know how it is in Holland, but I do have the idea, and I know now for a fact that there's prices for other teams and there's prices for Maaseik. There's prices for other teams and there's prices for Roeselare. And there's players that are being offered at 10,000, 15,000 to teams in 3, 4, 5, but for Maaseik it's 25. And like I said, have a network and do your homework and find out that there's 2 different parameters for one kind of team and another kind of team, and this is the kind of environment that we're trying to do our business in. So that's the first part. It's maybe a little bit longer than I anticipated. If there's any questions, please fire ahead. If there's any chit chat or you want to put some stickers on the board, that would be the first part. I've had for a quick water break and a cup of coffee. Okay. We'll start while we wait for the microphone. Yeah, we'll start with a couple of questions. Okay, one question: what is your opinion to start a Benelux top league? Netherlands and Belgium have a lot in common. In Eredivisie, some professional, most are amateur. Yeah, there's been talk about a Benelux league since I was in Holland in 2010. It's a logical choice, but then are you talking about only the top echelon of each country? And what is the idea? So if you think about Benelux league, guys, what would your idea be? What's the philosophy behind creating that kind of a league? What's the idea?
Make the level higher?
Yeah.
To get to a higher level.
Get to a higher level. So if we do that, then the Maaseik and Belgium want to play against the bottom in Holland, and the top of Holland want to play against the bottom Cubatin and in Belgium. So we're talking probably about a tiered structure, maybe top 3, or top 4. It's an interesting concept, but you've always seen, I don't know how it is in Holland, but you seem to have some people that want to protect and some people that want to expand. And the protect is the best intention of, we know what we have and maybe it's good like it is. Now in Belgium, for take one example, that for some of the lower teams, they do their spaghetti day or they do their club day when Maaseik or Roeselare or Aalst come to play. Because those are the games where the sports hall is full, because this is a big game and you have TV and it's an attraction. and it's perhaps more difficult to sell when you play against the lower teams? I think it's a difficult question because you've got a performance element about what makes the most interesting matches, but you've got a commercial and a Liga perspective about what's the most interesting concerning the actual product. And you've got to consider the teams at the top and the teams at the bottom, 1 through 8 or 1 through 10 in both. So I would say it's not quite that simple to organise it for those sort of more political reasons. Second question, it's D-Day, last chance, you still need 3 players, but you've got very few budget, what do you do? Yeah, open the bottle of whiskey, take it. It happens, we've had 1 or 2 deals that we've done where someone has literally halved their price because they want to come to the club, or they want to be in the area because they have family half an hour close by. So they'll say, right, I'll take a hit on my salary because I'd rather have this opportunity to be nearer this place. Okay. There's always deals to be done. You can turn it on its head and say, if you've got the character to wait until the last week, then there's going to be guys and girls that don't have a club, and maybe there's deals to be done, but it's risky because we talked a lot about the jigsaw, about who fits with who. And maybe you're going to get a corpier, you're going to find someone that's really bargain price. But what's their motivation? Are they happy that they have to come for a lot less? There's definitely players that you can find out there, but you probably need to just accept that you're going to have to compromise. Then maybe you want 5 things and you're going to get 3. And maybe you take those 2 and you're going to take it, you're going to accept that it's not the full package, but at the same time, the player's also accepting that perhaps they're taking 40% less because it's the last moment and their agent hasn't got them a contract. So it's always possible. There's enough agents, and I don't want to give agents and managers a bad name, because a lot of those guys, they want to work with you for the good of their players. You just got to make sure that you're both on the same line, both on the same level about what it is you want. It's not always a money-making business. You want to let these players progress and make the steps whilst investing in your club. This is for, I think, for Walter, for Lou, for sure, for Fred. You guys will have seen most of this last year. This is a year overview of season 17-18. My first year in charge of the club, and all the trials and tribulations that go with it. So, can everyone hear me okay without the microphone? No? Yeah, let me have the microphone. Okay, good. So, year in the life, 17-18. I took over from Daniel as head coach, working with Walt Weismans as technical director. I interviewed for the job. They asked me the difficult questions. If it doesn't go well, I'm going to have to fire you. I said, yeah, I know that. I've worked in Holland, and you have your ups and your downs. And with all respect, if you don't get results, you're on the edge. And it's a performance-based industry, you know. So this is something that myself and Walt, that's this guy, we have a very good link, and we can talk the truth to each other with no extra agenda. We don't always agree, or we didn't always agree, but it's useful, and this is part of the life you choose. If you want to push the club and say, please, 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 give me that chance, you've got to accept that if it doesn't go well, you're going to have to carry the can for it. So it started at the end of the season. There was this, so after all the work that we did, and after all the ups and the downs, and all the work, this is where we arrived.
How every story should end, and I'm happy, I'm lucky that it could be like this. Overall, I'm just happy, you know. We worked really hard all season for this. It was one of our goals, and it just feels good to get rewarded for the effort that we all put in this season. Ik denk hoe wij hebben gesteden als team, dat is ongelooflijk, ook de voorgaande wedstrijd.
It's an amazing guy, really top guy.
Fantastische match met een 3-0, beter kan het niet zijn, denk ik. Ja, heel vaak gestaan dat het net niet was. Nu is het er helemaal op. Ja, inderdaad. En ja, dat is fantastisch. Ik bedoel, dus, we moeten echt genieten vanavond. ja, hoe weet je? Ik weet niet, ik heb al heel veel champagne of champagne zijn mee, maar en nu, dus, maar dat zal ik wel in mijn hoofd gaan.
Dit is van de 5 jaar naar geweest en we hebben eindelijk dat resultaat gehaald. En we zijn de verdiende kampioen. We hebben 9 keer tegen Roeselaar gespeeld dit seizoen, 8 keer gewonnen. Het kan geen toeval zijn. We zijn de verdiende kampioen en we zijn er erg blij mee.
I didn't wash afterwards for a week.
Ons doel was om binnen 2 jaar, 3 jaar kampioen te spelen. Komt eigenlijk iets te vroeg. Maar ik heb ook tegen zorgen gezegd dat we zo'n 3 jaar op rij doen.
En ik ben heel trots op mijn papa. Dat heb ik heel knap gedaan.
Ja, dat is een mooi compliment. Ja, absoluut. Niet verwacht, maar we moeten super blij zijn voor de club, voor de vrijwilligers, voor de support staff, voor de spelers, alle mensen rond Maaseik heen. Ik kunt de overwinning, dit zit al aan.
You have to imagine this is after 5 years of the president always says eating at the top table. And Maaseik is a club where they're used to winning. You win always something. Maybe it's the cup, maybe it's the Super Cup, maybe it's the title, or maybe you win back to back to back. It's 5 years with different coaches, with putting money, buying players, bringing guys in, and losing to Roeselaar. Roeselaar 5 years in a row champion. And Maaseik and Roeselaar is like this, in a healthy way. But this is us, less money, 9 new players this year, and we ended up and we played champion. Phenomenal, really phenomenal, and a credit to all the people that had a hand in it. But before we arrived at this, we had this.
Ook al wordt het allemaal iets minder, dan mag je vandaag nog steeds nooit verliezen. Zeker die 3 zetten blijven verliezen. Heb je 1 slechte set in de derde, oké. Dus ja, dan is het kwart extra zwaar. Als je toch een 3 verlies van een team waar je net er nooit thuis van mag verliezen. Als je daar een keer een moeilijke wedstrijd hebt, oké, maar het slaat er wel nergens op.
Het sloeg gisteren inderdaad helemaal nergens op. Kapitein Jeltemaan is eerlijk in zijn analyse. Maaseik was nogthans goed begonnen aan de wedstrijd en lijkt na de eerste 2 gewonnen sets op weg naar een logische 3-0.
Ik ben super tevreden over de inzet, over de aanpak van mijn spelersgroep. De mentaliteit is juist wat we willen, maar we misten gewoon een finishing touch.
Monaco begint de wedstrijd inderdaad af te maken. In een bijzonder slappe derde set laten de bezoekers terug in de wedstrijd komen. 16-25 en 2-1. Maaseik twijfelt en kan geen vuist maken in set 4. 21-25 en 2-2.
Ze weten natuurlijk naar onze zelfvertrouwen en dat is duidelijk. Is wat ik zei, voor mij, ik krijg zelfvertrouwen van goed te trainen. En de training is goed. De mannen trainen hard, die met een hallen. Er is absoluut geen gebrek aan hard werk, aan de juiste mentaliteit tonen.
Maar ondanks het harde werk slaat ook in de tiebreaker Maaseikse motor niet meer aan. Verlies met 13-15 en 2-3 van kleine voorsprong.
Maaseik is een club met een mooi palmares, ook een echt een goede ploegspel. Als ik kijk individueel hebben ze echt dikke spelers. Dus het is super leuk om hier te winnen. Ook het feit dat ik dan als Limburg kon winnen is er echt leuk, ja.
Na de 3-0 nederlaag in Meen en puntenverlies vorige week in Gent, mist Monaco zijn competitiestart volledig met een schamele 6-12.
Nee, het is niet goed, het is niet fijn. Maar ja, ik vind nog steeds wel, als je het vergelijkt met de mindere jaren die we hebben gehad, is dit wel een team wat niet te vergelijken is met die jaren.
En dat je voelt van potentieel is nieuw.
Absoluut. Ja.
Volgende week trekt Maaseik naar Roeselaar, de landskampioen die dit seizoen nog geen set verloopt en autoritair aan de leiding staat.
So yeah, let's remember where we started. 9 new players, new team, new coach. We're building, we're working, we're going to get some time. Yeah, we're going to get some time, we're working, we're building. You don't lose at home to whatever when you're Maaseik. That's the bottom line. And this is a really tough loss for us because we've lost out to Mainen. We've won at home, so we had 6 points out of a possible 12. And again, not something that Maaseik is used to. So even though we had a plan, the plan didn't involve losing at home with all respect to whatever, but it was a process. But now you can imagine the heat is coming higher, there's stress, and now it's time for cool heads. We talk about the plan, we talk about the blueprint, now you need to have some perspective, and now you need to try and think about, yeah, what's my approach with these guys? We go into the locker room, we really give them a hard time because we lose this game, or we look at the facts, or we try and find solution, but what do you want to achieve? I'm not the kind of coach that's going to stand there and put all the responsibility on my players group and say, yeah, well, they lost and we shouldn't lose this game. And no. But it's tough, it hurts. And we're in this stage where there's a lot of questions being asked about me. There's a lot of questions being asked about have they made the right choice about this coach and all these new players and their first money, but some of these guys, we're not sure, a lot of young ones, etc., etc. And you've got to be able to stand there, take a moment, take a breath, find some perspective and realise that this is at the start of the season and we're on a journey. And if you're going to be a big character, you're going to have to go through these moments and be honest with yourself. And that's what I did. A lot of reflecting this week, a lot of talking with the senior players, but also with Walt, about what kind of path we're on, decisions that we took, some self-reflection, but don't immediately press the panic button and think that it's all over. But don't think for a minute that this is easy, because when this happens, these kinds of matches are the kind of matches that get you fired. We know Gary Lineker, the ex-football player from England, and he made this quote about every manager or coach is 3 losses from getting the sack. This is something that they use in the Premier League in the UK. And it's unbelievable. You lose 3 games in a row and they're already talking in the media about getting fired. 3 games. Yeah? This was in the press. This is the game, speaking with Walt, the scout man, and the president, Maaseik, before the game in Rusland. This is the week after we lose at home to 1M. And Walt's come out in the press and says that basically, even though we've had a difficult start, no problem, and the press are asking, are there questions about the head coach? Yeah? Already behind the scenes, there's muttering. This started, like I said before, about this idea with Daniel Castellani. He was in this role with T1, and I was T2, and in January, he was having phone calls from Filippinova, Varsovia, Skra, Tobate, Modena, talking about these kind of options, these kind of choices, and do I do this next year or do I do that next year, and completely different perspective. And there's me sitting there thinking, well, we've just lost to RM, and now I've got to do my job and make sure that I can find a perspective. It's important, like we said, to think about that you've inherited a team, but not the same team. So you've got to put your stamp on it. You've got to have the spine and the character to take things in your own hands. Think about the recruitment that you did and think about your plan. Like Walt said, the idea was it's a 3-year plan. Our goal, Focus Brook's goal was we want to play the finals, but within the next 3 years we want to be champion. And you're not going to get there the easy route. I've not done anything and achieved anything the easy way. I don't know about other coaches, but there's no magic wand. There's no click of the fingers and suddenly you start winning. It's hard work, it's being honest, it's reflecting, thinking about your processes, but trying to understand that this is part of this journey. It's not the nice part, but it's part of it. The facts about the seasons. Between the first video that I showed tonight when we lost in Rusland 2016-17 and when we started this season, we experienced a 20 to 25% reduction in the budget, the players' budget. The gap between Maaseik and Rusland, that's the 2 top teams, has increased. Rusland already possessed the most of the best Belgian players, Hendrik Tuurlings, Dane Jonkeren, Matthijs van Hanneman, Peter Voorman, which means that they also control the transfer fees. You don't pay a transfer, you don't pay flights. Yeah? There's less taxes if you take Belgian players, so they already have more money and they have the better Belgian players, so they're keeping more money to be able to spend more money on different positions. We had a new head coach, we had a new assistant coach, and we had 9 new players from 7 different countries. So Redbad asked me, and some of the coaches sent me some mails about this idea about forming a team and storming and norming. Well, this is how we started. We define our goals as we want to play the finals. And the interesting part is some of the starters, and I know for a fact, the starters in this season earned less than 50% of the players that earned what they earned the year before. So we took Just Dronkers from the Kyrgyz. I phoned with his coach, I phoned with Bas Hellinger, who was at the time I think coaching in Dynamo, and asked him what's it like when you play against Just. Spoke with the coaches, the Kyrgyz, what's Just like? He had his ups and downs, tell me everything about him. We took him and he earned less than half of what the Libero the year before earned, because we had to downsize his budget and we thought this is a young player with a lot of potential, a lot of positives, we're going to invest in him. And you have this plan, and then we go and lose to Warem, and the pressure comes up. Yeah, so Dronkas and too cheap. Yeah, one middle player earned 54% cheaper, and the setters were 20% cheaper. So we had to take cuts at all levels. Our plan was what we talked about. What did we have? What did we need? What could we have? And what can't we change? We had players under contract that we can't fire. So those players have 1 more year to go. You've got to deal with it. Yeah? What players do you want to bring in? Well, now we've got less money. So what choices can we make? And the choices about who fits with who, the setter, the spikers, becomes more and more important. Like I said before, huge part is the mentality and the character. You've got to get the guys that want to work. You've got to get the guys that are going to push themselves and each other, and you try and make this puzzle fit within the price constraints that you have. And this idea about omelets and eggs, if you want to be the head coach, you've got to be able to take the big decisions. Yeah? This player, not this player. I had a big discussion with one management member about why I wanted to bring Just Dronkers and not play with the current libero, this Belgian guy. And we went on and on and on, and at the end of it, I just said, listen, I'm going to stop, because you're asking me to be head coach, so you're giving me the responsibility. You're putting my name above the door. If you want me to run this team, then on my responsibility, that guy is better than that guy. And maybe it's going to take some time at the beginning, but this is going to be my team. I'm going to put my chips down with him, not with that guy. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Yeah, but this and that. No, stop. Like, either you give me this responsibility, or you don't, but we're not going to do 50-50. It's got to be clear, the communication has to be clear, and you can't make an omelette without breaking eggs, right? You've got to dare to take the big decisions. So we start with our recruitment, and we start with this first practice.
Terug aan de slag voor de spelers van Norico Maaseik, voorbereid op het nieuwe seizoen. En dat doet de coach met heel wat nieuwe spelers. Van de kern van 12 zijn er 9 nieuwkomers.
Dat valt eigenlijk heel goed mee. Iedereen bracht er eigenlijk heel snel aan. Heel veel een beetje door het volleybal niet aan. We want it or not, we spend every day together on the practice and in the locker room. So it goes pretty easy and quick to meet everybody. And for sure also with everybody from another country, also always interesting to meet and to see how other cultures. So it goes like normal month when you're ready and we go
Een echt team maken wordt dus ook de doelstelling de volgende weken door de nieuwe hoofdcoach, de Brit Joel Banks. Vorig jaar was hij hier nog assistent onder Cassia.
Natuurlijk zijn we maar assistent van plan om 9 nieuwe spelers te zoeken. Want hij is een topsport op dit moment. We moeten de juiste spelers kunnen vinden met de juiste kwaliteit. Zodat eigenlijk onze budget is gebracht. Dus we hebben eigenlijk daar moeten zoeken voor de juiste spelers binnen onze staan. Ik heb heel veel zin in, ik heb heel veel in de club, maar het is ook leuk dat we zijn goed bezig en we hebben
Maaseik van de prestaties was ook een rijke volleybalgeschiedenis en dat weet ook de nieuwe coach.
Mogelijk. Tegen vorig jaar net naast, 2 keer tegen Rusland in de finales. Maar goed, als je topsport te zijn, die alles die zelf volleybal. En die ook al performance wat je al
16 september is meteen de eerste kans op een prijs. Dan speelt Maaseik Supercup tegen Rusland.
So yeah, first interview, first practice. You want time, right? When you're in a new role, you want time, you want the chance to bring your message to the players and to try and have the chance to build. So this is always in this world, how much time are you going to get? Yeah? If you have your sessions, I'm lucky I train twice a day. Yeah? I can have long sessions, I can make a lot of work and a lot of repetitions. If you have 2-3 practices a week, yeah, then you need to be even more consequent about what you work on and how you try and get your message across, because what you really want to do is try and help your players play within your vision to the best of their ability. But for me it was, yeah, you need to find some momentum, you need to let your players feel calm that you're not with extra stress, but you desperately want that first win, and to try and find a way of playing to build confidence and build some momentum. Yeah? Recruitment, we looked at Belgian players like we talked about. but we had some problems because most of those guys were in Roeselare, or they wanted to go outside. So immediately, like we talked about before in Holland, when I started in Orion,
okay without the microphone still? Yeah, okay, good. I want to thank whoever wrote the questions, because there's some real ball breakers. Can you plan the unexpected? Wow. It actually ties in a little bit to this season, because this season compared to last season was really day and night different. In terms of the game, I think that you try and prepare for certain closed situations and open situations. Preparing for the unexpected, yeah, it could be an injury, it can be someone's game just falls down, it can be an unexpected call from the referee. I think that there's certain things you can do in practice in terms of your solutions, your strategies, your dynamic in the group, your communication style, but also perhaps your systems, where you can have some capacity to solve problems. But it depends what unexpected thing you're talking about. So whoever wrote the question, well done, but whoever wrote it, can be more specific, or?
Yeah, I wrote down the question.
Yeah.
Because you mentioned there was a big turning point after the rules and the rules were. It would be nice to turn situations like that. Put in a situation that they have to come up with a solution to the first point. I mean, a lot of great events sporting results depend on something that's out of their hands.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The known unknowns. I know when we went to the Olympics we had some training, media training, and some other bits and pieces from Team GB, and there's a lot of money available for those kind of resources. But one of the things was about the known unknowns and the unexpected. What happens when you break down on the way to the Olympic venues? What are you going to do? Like basically think about like 10 things that could just fall out of the sky and how you're going to prepare. And a lot of it came down to that's just part of the game, or part of the preparation, that is not always going to go smoothly. So preparing a little part of your mind for taking a moment, assessing the situation. Perhaps we have to adapt something. That was really part of their mental preparation towards that tournament. I didn't do that, certainly not in my first year, the one we just watched. I was perhaps a little bit more reactive, so I had my year plan and I had my idea about where I wanted to be physically, technically, tactically. I factored in when the guys would be available to me because of national team or whatever. There were a couple of unexpected moments. One guy that came back after Christmas and he was like 8 kilos over. And I'm the kind of guy, for example, where I treat my players like adults and I give them the respect, and I expect that there's a two-way street until you break that trust. So, for example, I'm not the guy who's going to go and stand next to the players every day when it's weigh-in time. I do it maybe one time, and then I let those guys weigh in by themselves and write the score down, because in my world, you're a professional athlete, and this is something you would do normally. I never expected that one guy would write down the same thing, plus minus a few hundred grams, and in actual fact he's 8 kilos over. So when I finally found that out, I was really angry at him, but also probably with myself, because he betrayed the trust that I'd shown in him. What that really taught me was perhaps more of that message, which is don't judge everybody by your own value system. So the unexpected was, for me, you've just fallen into your own trap, coach, because you're telling, don't think everyone knows what you're talking about, and don't think that everyone nods that they all understand it. You've given enough space and enough trust for a grown man who's a professional athlete with 10 years experience to go and do something as simple as a weigh-in, but in actual fact he's just really just let you and himself down. And that was a learning moment. So the unexpected part there was probably just that's a learning experience, and then you have to try and find ways to potentially keep your value system, but also plan in some other solutions. In terms of planning for the unexpected, there's always things that are going to fall out of the sky. And I think part of the way that I try and deal with that is firstly to try and stay calm. And that's easily said, but someone breaks their leg in front of you, you're human, you think, oh my God, like maybe you're squeamish, maybe you run for help. That's something that you don't know until you get there. And I think that that's the dilemma, like you can have some strategies, but some things you just can't legislate for. Other question, how have you noticed that players do not trust you anymore, and how to reverse that? I know from myself, from my MBTI brain type and my character and some psychological tests and reading and things that I've done, that I'm a person who likes harmony. I'm not afraid of conflict, but if I can avoid it, I will. And that I generally see the best in people. And I can say that because I know that from myself, so I'm prepared that that's potentially a weakness or an area of weakness for me. So this thing about giving this guy this trust, that for me is quite a normal thing, and the fact that he takes a big piss on me and his team by just cutting the corners is something that I don't really understand, but it's a lesson. I would say that I like to treat my players with respect, and I expect the same in return, and I have this idea about an open door policy. So one of my first messages in the first week is for the group that there's a certain amount of discipline and organisation and the rules from the club and from me that are non-negotiable, but I also think it's important that they have a team session and they discuss in the team what they find is important for the way that they're going to behave, the way that they're going to act, the way that they're going to be seen as Greenyard Maaseik. And if it's their input, if it's their rules, if it's their discussion, then they have the ownership of it. So it's your words, you contributed, so by definition you're responsible for governing your own rules, regulations. It shouldn't all come from the coach. I think it's inevitable that you're going to click as coach better with some players than others. Some players, they understand your enthusiasm, your idea, your way of working. Some players you like the fact that they're workers, or that they're really skillful, or aren't they smart, or aren't they volleyball intelligent. Yeah? I personally have a problem with players that don't watch any volleyball. That for me I can't understand. There's always one or two players in every team that I've worked with that they play volleyball but they don't watch any volleyball. They watch NBA, they watch Netflix, they watch the football, but Perugia are playing Civitanova in game 5 and they just wanted to go down the pub. They wanted to go down the cinema and watch something, yeah? And you're like, yeah, but it's like the top volleyball TV, right? Yeah. I'm thinking like, wow, like, Jesus, like this is, but I love volleyball, this is what I love to do. I've always done it since I was a kid, and it's probably a contributing factor to the success that I've had, that I've been a student of the game, and long may it continue. So again, for me, it's difficult to understand why guys wouldn't do that. I think that the trust thing is that you have to appreciate that it's just not going to click with some guys. So I think you've got to be open and human to each other, and you don't need to be friends. You've got to try and be honest with each other. And I had a problem with a player this year, quite a significant problem in terms of there was a clear breakdown between us two. He said to me, "We all know what happens if you don't win a championship this year, right, coach?" So I'm like, right, okay. And I had a moment like when the penny drops, right? And you've got choices, right? Through door number 1. You explode and you go nuts and you say, how dare you speak to me like that, and are you saying that my job's under threat? And no. Door number 2, you think, oh my God, like, how dare you? And door number 3, you actually think, well, I actually need this guy because he's an important player for my team. And I might not like him, and I might think, how dare you speak to me like that, you little scumbag. But I have to work with you. We've got important games to be played. Yeah, this is maybe your real opinion. So right now, maybe the best policy is to avoid confrontation and find some perspective, and buy myself some time to think about how I'm going to use this guy for the greater good of what he can give to the team, so that we both win. So my direct response was, yeah, if I don't win anything, then I'm a loser. I haven't won anything. But if I don't win, you don't win. And if you don't win, I don't win. And if we don't win, the team doesn't win. So really, truthfully, where are we going with this conversation? I don't like that kind of talk. I think it's downright rude. But the guy's an important player. He's on my team. I need him, and he probably still needs me, even though he doesn't realise it. So it's not about my ego, and it's not about his ego. It's about finding a way to make it work in the next week, month, 3 months, unless he goes way over and you kick him out, which is possible. But you need to find a way that they contribute in the bigger picture to the greater good of the team. If there's a breakdown in trust, my way would be to speak about it, to keep the door open so that there's a degree of communication, and to sit down together and speak the truth. And if it's really not working, then you try and bring in a third party to try and mediate a little bit. But it's also okay to acknowledge that you're not going to get along with everybody, they're not going to like you, some guys are going to think you're full of shit and it's just hot air and you talk too much and let's just play. But you try and, my style is I try and help them to understand that I want to help them on their journey. And maybe that journey is 1 season in Maaseik, maybe it's 5 seasons, but when we stop working together, that you are a better player, technically, tactically, maybe even as a person, character, than you were before we worked together. And I try and put my ego to the back. Last question. Manager versus coach, trainer versus year plan. Which is the most important, the squad, the training, or the players? I would say, it's another good question. It's funny how the questions get more difficult as we get later in the evening. I would say that you have your plan, but your plan's your starting point. And the plan that you start with is very rarely the plan that you end with. Yeah, there's always some adaptation, there's always something you didn't foresee, there's always something where someone goes off beat. And that plan do review, that is an ongoing process throughout your year plan. It's good to have a year plan because at the end of the year you can review and see your notes and maybe you change your vision for next year. I think that the squad is important, the training is important because you develop your players and you try and give your vision. Unless you've got the capacity to only work with the players that you like to work with, or the players that are in your value system, which I don't think as coaches we do. I don't think, if you look at football, you know, for example, Manchester United, you've got Mourinho, who's won everything there is to win on several different continents, Champions League, Cup, Liga, and he can't get along with Paul Pogba, and it arrives at a moment where you've got a €90 million player and a coach, and the coach is on everything, but the clubs say, right, coach can go because players are more important. At the top level, the player power is becoming higher and higher and higher. I have heard some stories about the top level players in Italy, Poland, Turkey, and it's more about man management and getting them to work as part of your vision than it is like it used to be, okay, everybody on the line, I'm the boss, I say you do, and that's the only way. Times have changed. With society the way it is now, the discipline, everybody has their voice, the way of working. Every culture has their own little nuances and their own special parts, let's say. But I think that the man management style and how you manage your players within your program and get them to deliver what you need them to deliver within the total picture is the most important. You have to take your ego out of it and try and find a way to be successful. Okay, last part, if we can keep the eyes open a little bit longer, you've been amazing, because most people can concentrate for about 20 minutes, including myself, but it's already been a couple of hours, so. We're into the last season, it's this year, yeah? What happened, yeah? It's not a year of life off. Well, we changed the name, it's now Green Yard Maaseik, which took some getting used to. So we had a new sponsor, yeah? A new team, yeah? Right. Okay, so what changed? Well, some important changes. Like I said, Walt Wageman's my right hand, my sounding board, the guy that brought me into the club, the guy that I have the utmost respect for, and it really clicks. He's my friend. I respect him. He's an intelligent guy with a lot of understanding, and that just goes to show we're very close. It's a special guy to me. I have a special relationship with Walt, and he resigned and left the club. A difference in opinion, a difference with the idea about the vision of where he wanted to go to with his role in the club. I'm under contract, and without going into all the detail, I say to Walt, listen, I'm with you, I understand where you're coming from, but I don't fully agree with everything you say, and I've also got a contract, so I can't just step out and say no, to hell with it because I support Walt. I said, I understand where you're coming from, but isn't there a way to sit around the table and find some common ground, because we all need each other, We've spent so long trying to find this continuity, this credibility. Our brand is strong as it's ever been because we just won a championship. We're building something special in this plan that we created for this 3 years, and now you're going to step out. So I spoke to him, I spoke to the president, I spoke to anyone that would listen in the management. There must be a way to find some solution, but there wasn't. And that was it. He resigned, and there was no more technical director. We took 6 new players. One of the main questions, I said to one of the coaches in the break, one of the main questions I had over the summer period was from the media and the fans, so you're going to keep the championship team together, right? Like continuity, like Rousselard, you're going to have the same team. Well, no, because we had a bunch of guys, 9 new guys, 25% less budget, 9 new players, and we didn't give every player a 2-year deal because you don't really know what you're getting. So one way to protect is to give most guys 1 year, yeah, or an option. But when you do well, you play Final 12 of Champions League, you play the finals, you win the League of Trophy, you win the championship for the first time in 5 years, what happens to the price of all the 1-year players? Goes through the roof, man. Now suddenly everyone's worth 25, 35, 40%, 50% more? Yeah. Even if you want to keep the team together, it's impossible. Because the guys are right. I did really well, you gave me 1 year, I came for small money, you had less money, we've just played champion, surely I deserve 15, 20%. Yeah, you do. But if I do that for 9 guys, we break the budget, we'll play with 9 guys and not 12. So by definition, we couldn't keep some guys. Rich Licky, Camille, up and coming rising star, yeah, he had offers from Poland, Turkey, Italy, he was going to go, and he was right, it was the time to make the next step. Another guy had come in because his family was in Durban, and he wanted to be closer to home. Maaseik Durban is half an hour, 45 minutes. He played for half of his normal contract. He did a good job. He helped us really in big ways in certain parts of the season. He says, I'd love to stay, I love it in Maaseik, but my normal price is X and you've been paying me Y. We can't give him a 50% increase. The club, the fans, they love this guy. Why do you let this guy go? Yeah, I can't pay him double what I paid him last year and have another opposite. We can't have 2 opposites the same. There was a lot of reasons, predominantly 1-year deals, predominantly no increase in budget, predominantly some tactical choices that meant that we didn't keep the same team, or we couldn't keep the same team. Out of the 6 players we contracted, one important factor was we tried to compensate for Rich Licky. Camille was 2 meters 4, he touched easy 365, is a cannon. Normally an opposite player, but he played on receive. So all the difficult balls that normally go to the opposite, some to the opposite, but we played a lot on 4. But you don't find this guy every year, and if you find him, we can't pay him. Most of those guys go straight to Italy or the bigger league. So we couldn't replace him with a direct change, so we tried to replace him with a different philosophy, a different idea. We take an experienced spiker on the outside and we invest in the middle. Our receive increases and we play a faster game on the left side in 3 rotations, and we have a different cooperation with our middle. That was our idea. But one of the players, if I'm honest, I was doubting. I said to Walt, I'm doubting, we spoke about it, we looked at it, we chased it up again, said, right, okay, we do it. And at the end of the season, the doubts were probably right. But it's very easy to say that after 10 months of working with the guy. It's one of those things, we did the homework, we thought about it, we decided to go with it, and in actual fact it didn't pan out for us. And the last thing is my personal expectation really changed. My motivation changed after the season. I still love volleyball, but our idea was to play champion within 3 years, and we did it in the first year. Unexpected. So where is there to go now? Only down? Well, you want to win again, for sure, and you want to win a cup. But we won a cup, so we've got one more thing we didn't win, and we want to go further in the Champions League. But the budget doesn't go up, players are leaving, it's difficult to replace 1 or 2 key guys. The weight of my own expectation was, well, Jesus, if we don't do the same again or better, then it's a bad season. It's true or not, guys? What do you think? If you don't do the same or better, it's a bad season. Let's go. Sorry?
Not always.
Not always. You're ambitious, right? You're ambitious, you want to win. Yeah. 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 In the cold light of day, I agree. But at the time I'm thinking like, come on man, like you've done it 1 year, you want to do it again, and that feeling is like a drug. It's like a drug, and you want more, and but I know, you're right, not every year you're going to get out of the group in Champions League, and now they changed the formula. It's even more impossible for the smaller teams like Maaseik and Roeselare. But my own expectation, I realised during the season, was suddenly a lot higher, and I really had to get a grip to understand that where were we at this stage last year, find some perspective, compare, and then you'll be able to put it into perspective. I think you've got to review the processes and the way of working compared to last year. What do you do differently? Do you do everything the same? Do you have the same material? Do you have the same budget, the same players? It's virtually impossible in Maaseik to keep the same roster every year, because Maaseik is by definition a stepping stone club. And I'm more than happy to put that out in the world and in the media, because we should use that to our strength. Young players, talented players, come to us, do 1 year, preferably 2, use Maaseik to get in the spotlight and then kick on to the next level. Yeah? You've got to make comparisons to the previous season, but comparisons are inevitable. But after a really positive season on many fronts, it's difficult to not only see that, well, it's worse, or maybe it's as good as, but maybe the competition have got better. Roeselare this year were a lot better than last year. They have a better setter that was on the court all the time, whereas last year their setter had an average season and he was injured. Yeah? Their outside spikers were fit for 95% of the season. Yeah? And last year 2 of the players had injuries ongoing, on and off the court, on and off the court. Yeah? The coach was leaving last year, and it didn't really click like it had done the years before. So the environment was changed. So maybe Roeselare weren't quite at their very best, and we took our opportunity. This year they were better. Aalst, it used to be Lennox, Aalst found a really good young setter from Poland. They bought the Swedish opposite player Gustafsson. They took one new middle player, Tim Smith from Holland. They had a really good summer. Yeah, and they found some momentum, and the player they were missing last year, one passer Lorpa, one reception attacker, they bought the best player from Mainen. So their team has suddenly improved by about 40%. So maybe your opponents are improving, and you are improving too, but maybe the difference is, like we said, the differences are marginal. It's important that the game evolves. The game evolves every year, every decade. Yeah, your way of playing, your processes, your vision, your tactics, your strategy needs to evolve as well. If you think about Nokia and you think about Apple, yeah, if you don't go 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, yeah, you stand still, you die. So as volleyball coaches, we have to take the good stuff that works well, but keep your eyes open, keep studying the game, and try to improve, because your opponents are studying you and your way of working, how your team plays, and they will adapt like I tried to adapt to our team. The 20 things we need to do to beat Roeselare. Why? Because Roeselare were champion. If you want to be champion, you have to beat them. What do you think all the other coaches were doing last summer? The same, but for who? Exactly. So you've got to say, okay, but if we do the same again, are we going to be as performing as well? No, you've got to anticipate these things and try and see what's coming. My role, like I said, my role changed, so I asked to take more responsibility from Walt Weismans, because I wanted to protect our way of working, and I was concerned that the club would bring in another technical director, and it needs to click. If you've got a coach and a technical director, it needs to click. You need to be on the same page. You don't need to agree all the time. It's good to argue and to disagree, but you need to have faith in that person, and you need to have a certain link. So I thought, right, immediately, I don't want to change too much on the staff, because I don't want to lose Walt and some of the staff. We've already had to change 6 players. Then I'm going to guarantee our way of working by asking the management, can we please divide the tasks of Walt into different pieces, and I'll take the majority, so I can guarantee that there's no technical director saying, oh, next year you've got that player, and that player. Okay, good. No, I like to do things the way I like to do it, because it's my program, but also the way of working is proven effective, so let's not immediately change it, you know. I have direct control over the sports side, so the budget, the acquisitions, the choices, the staff. And my cooperation with the general manager, Dieter Leenders, really changed, because before it was always me and Walt, and that was my direct link to the club and the management. Now there is no technical director, so I need to make sure that my link to the management and the board, with Dieter, the general manager, that it's clear. I don't need him coming into the sessions and looking at everything I do, but I need to communicate with him so that he understands certain decisions that are being made and where we're moving, so that we're on the same page. And again, there's no technical director at my request. Okay. How do we compensate for rigidity? That was one part of the plan. How to accommodate the fact that players move on? Well, we are a stepping stone club, so we better get used to it, we better embrace that, and we better try and find some strategies to deal with that. What's the strategic planning? Well, we decided for a middle and an outside, 2 Estonian players, that with the style of play and the way that we would adapt our game, that kind of play would accommodate in some parts by just having a guy on the outside you can throw the ball to and he can crush it. This middle player was going to give us more in block, yeah, and a little bit more in attack and more in serve than the middle from last year. It was a step up in quality, and this guy was an experienced guy that could play a lot with the block, play the block, take it back, play block out, be really annoying like a mosquito, not a big hammer but a smart, intelligent player. So our game would be based on difficult ball, we play for the block, we take it back, and then in contra, then we go again in the second phase, and then we think a little bit more first tempo play. That was the idea. I introduced to the board, I want an overlapping strategy. One way to ensure continuity is to make sure if you have 2 opposites, that one of the opposites has always got an ongoing contract. So we don't have both guys at the end of contract in the same year. The same with the setters, the same with at least 1, but ideally 2 of the receiver spikers, and at least 2 out of the 3 middle blockers, so that we never have a situation where we've got 9 new players. Maybe at worst it's 6 and 6, but ideally it should be 8 and 4. That was the plan. And we signed with Pace and Peters, 2 young Belgian guys, and we signed with Wojciech, who was the MVP of the league the year before. He's a Canadian guy with a Polish passport, and we took another Estonian middle blocker. The guys that were end of contract, and this was a big black storm cloud hanging over the head for the team this year, Yalta's end of contract after 10 years at the club and after a 5-year contract. So there's a big decision to be made. Do we extend or do we break? Jolan Cox is one of the standout players, my opposite player. He's at the end of a 2-year deal. Last year he already had interest from Poland and outside. Do we want to renew with him? Can we afford to offer him a better contract? Timo Tamama has made a bit of revelation last year. We managed to convince him to stay for 1 more year, but most likely if he has another good year, he's going to go. And Jay Blankenau, who's the glue in the team, he's the guy who sticks and makes the other guys stick together, puts the team before himself, fighter, intelligent guy, gets on with everybody. He's under contract. We went up a level financially last year to keep him. We can't do that again. And again, he's at a great World Championships. He played the whole summer World Championships for Canada. He's put himself in the spotlight, and it's going to be difficult. How is he going to react coming back to the team the second year with his expectation that national team is my normal level now, with players like Hogue, Claude Perrin, and so on. Okay. So we go back a little bit to the recruitment, how we start up.
Goed scoren op 3 fronten en het liefst van al opnieuw landskampioen worden. Een volleybalclub Greenyard Maaseik legt de lat hoog. De Maaslanders starten vandaag na 3,5 maand vakantie met de voorbereiding op het nieuwe seizoen. Dat doen ze met 6 nieuwe gezichten, maar ook zonder sportief directeur Wout Wijsmans.
Op 28 april 2018 ontploft de Steengoed Arena. Maar zij komt zich voor het eerst sinds 2012 tot landskampioen. En met ook een uitstekend parcours in Europa en een bekerfinale kunnen de Maaslanders terugblikken op een meer dan geslaagd seizoen. En dus wordt het beter doen zonder meer lastig.
Het is een kwestie van hoe je bekijkt. Ik denk als topsporter, als topsportcoach wil je altijd winnen. Natuurlijk, vorig seizoen was uiteraard een heel goede seizoen.
We weten allemaal dat de club altijd dezelfde doelstellingen hanteert, dus de finale spelen. Het is aan ons om heel veel te halen en misschien dat nog hoger te leggen. Opvallend, het spelersverloop bij de Maaslanders is relatief klein. Maar zij start de voorbereiding met 6 oude en 6 nieuwe gezichten.
En dat was ook de bedoeling, om proberen elk jaar toch bepaalde minimumspelers te kunnen houden. Dat moet wel financieel haalbaar zijn, anders kun je de plan gewoon vergeten, maar we hebben wel goede keuzes kunnen maken, denk ik. En we hebben goede transfers gemaakt.
Ook als je kijkt naar de ploeg die samengebleven is, denk ik toch dat we in de startende 7 van het afgelopen jaar zijn er toch 4 gebleven, ik denk 5. En dat gaat wel een groot verschil maken met vorig jaar en het begin van het seizoen.
Naast de naamsverandering was het grootste nieuws in het tussenseizoen ongetwijfeld het vertrek van Wout Wijsmans. Hij zette 3 seizoenen lang de sportieve lijnen uit bij de club en was het klankbord voor zowel spelers als coach.
Ja, Wout was natuurlijk als technisch directeur verantwoordelijk voor de technische kant van deze club, maar ook een aanspreekpunt voor spelers op allerlei zaken. En ook misschien wel als een bepaalde backup van Joel, dus dat gaat wel dingen veranderen.
Hoe ver gaan jullie dat missen?
Mij persoonlijk superveel. En iemand zoals wel onmiddellijk vervangen is ook niet eenvoudig. Dus ik heb gevraagd aan de club om even tijd te nemen.
Maaseik start de competitie op 14 oktober. De datum voor de Supercup is nog steeds niet bekend.
We looked at this slide earlier just to give you a quick idea. So this was the first year, second year and the third year. So we ended up with a medical joker, Alex Kozlov from Bulgaria, because one of our players, Andre, our new, expensive, big house, huge Godzilla of a middle player, gets injured in the pre-season and didn't play through until April. So we had him out for the whole season. So we bought Alex. Yeah, and at the start of the playoff 4 we played against Mainland, and Jay Blake now got an injury and was written off for the rest of the season. So we had to source the setter, Jan Zimmerman from Berlin, and he came in at the start of playoff 4. This is what we talked a little bit about the trust. This brings a couple of things into perspective.
In de Champions League volleybal heeft Greenyard Maaseik gisteren met 3-1 verloren van Berlijn. Maaseik had even uitzicht op een 5-setter, maar keert uiteindelijk toch met lege handen naar huis. Bijna 4000 supporters zorgden voor een zinderende sfeer en een mooie Europese volleybalavond in de Duitse hoofdstad.
Greenyard Maaseik kan in Berlijn rekenen op de steun van een 30-tal meegereisde supporters.
De grootste groep is allemaal naar hier gekomen en hebben er een prettige uitstap gemaakt aan 4 dagen.
Mijn vrouw en ik zijn al denk ik 34 keer mee naar het buitenland geweest en we hebben al jaren gehoopt dat het een keer Berlijn ging loten en nu is het eindelijk zover en ja, het was de moeite.
De Max Schmelinghalen kolkt, maar Maaseik is niet onder de indruk. Blankenau en thuis met een blok en het is 6-9 voor de bezoekers. Maar geleidelijk aan herstelt Berlijn het evenwicht en in een spannend slot trekken de Duitsers de eerste set naar zich toe. Tronkers met een slechte receptie en 25-23. Ook in set 2 is het verschil klein, toch stoot Maaseik vaak op een Berlijnse muur. De Duitse dubbele meters staan vaak op de goede plaats met het blok. Set 2 gaat uiteindelijk ook naar de thuisploeg met 25-21. Maaseik dus met het mes op de keel, maar in de derde set weten ze dan toch enkele keren door de Duitse luchtafweer te breken. In geen tijd leidt Maaseik met 13-6.
Ja, Jackie nu, hè. Ik ga niet iedereen zijn naam noemen, maar alweer is er vaak die kan winnen. En ik denk dat bepaalde veel met zich mee. Ik ben super trots op het team. Ja, natuurlijk, iedereen heeft feest. Hij heeft nooit in een zaal gestaan voor meer dan 500 man, denk ik. En nu speel ik voor 3.000 man hier.
Even later praten ze met de smash, 25-18 en Maaseik komt terug tot 2-1.
That's a big positive that we just kept fighting, and that's going to be important for our team for sure in Belgian League and other Champions League games, is to really not lose hope in ourselves.
De wedstrijd lijkt te kantelen, maar in set 4 is het de individuele klasse van Carl Russell die het verschil maakt. De Amerikaan bevrijdt Berlijn en leidt zijn ploeg naar 25-18. Net zoals vorig seizoen begint Maaseik met een 3-1 nederlaag aan de Champions League.
Dat zou niet nog meer en ik denk als we hier met 1 punt zeker naar huis zouden geweest zijn, dat het niet gestolen zou geweest zijn, zeker niet.
Voilà. So we played this game with our third middle guy who comes out of a 1M from our own league. He did an amazing job. We were very close to Berlin, but we couldn't quite take it. If you look at the two teams in terms of the budget, it's like this. But you have this feeling, again, and I spoke to yourself during the break, that you lose 3-1 in Berlin, you have a chance to make 2-2. we mess up and there's things where you think, yeah, we can control that moment or execute that moment a little better. But in the back of your mind, for me, and I'm sure for a couple of the other guys, you're thinking, yeah, last year in this situation, we would win that set and we would play an extra set. And then automatically you make that comparison, and that weight of expectation comes in, and then you've got one or two players that have been through that process, and they've been with the national team in the summer, and they're thinking, well, this is not what I signed up for, this is something we should be winning, my expectation is higher, normally this should be something which is a given, and then you start to create a little bit this friction because it's uncomfortable, that in actual fact you don't accept to lose these games. After this game, you have 3 guys that go out drinking. The guys are allowed a beer after the game, they're allowed 2 beers, but with the agreement that you're in shape for the next day, you don't go over, and you are decent. They didn't go over, they were in decent shape, they didn't do anything where you say that's a real problem, that's a fine, but one guy sleeps in and he's late for the bus, and the bus is full of journalists, full of 3 board members, the president, the team and all the supporters. So you've had this difficult game you have to deal with where there's a lot of disappointment, we've got injury crisis already, it's already first couple of months of the season, and one of your key players has been caught oversleeping because he's been drinking. And this is something that we never had this the year before. Maybe it happened, but I didn't hear about it and we didn't need to compensate. Now you've got this situation, so you've got a medical joker, you've lost a game that you feel you should have won, and one of your important players is out drinking and misses the bus and is in a world of shit. So this is already something very different, but the interesting thing is, in your team, you want everybody to be perfect schoolboys or schoolgirls and robots, or you want a few of those guys that like a beer and like to push the limit and like to break the rules. What do you think, guys? What's your personal preference? Some rule breakers? Is that you? Oh, come on, what do we think? We want everybody that goes yes, yes, yes and they follow and there's never any problems, or you want some guys that have different mentality, different boundaries? Different. Mix of both. It's interesting because when I looked at this, in my role I have to reprimand that player, come into my office, sit down, this and this. I then find out there were 2 other guys with him. You and you come in, you sit down with him, okay. And we talk, and it's clear, and they get a sanction from the club. It is what it is. You don't tell me that guys don't drink a beer after a game away from the team. It's not the end of the world. But you need to find some perspective and you need to make sure that we're all on the same page. But when the chips are down and you're going to be in May and you play a final series where there's pressure, there's stress, you want guys that are there like this, shaking, or you want guys that stick their chest out and say, right, I'm ready for the fight. And this is the thing, your value system, what you think you need, what you would like to have, but in actual fact what you really need. You need fighters in your team. You need guys that are going to follow the rules, sometimes step outside, but you don't need pussycats either. You need guys that have got stones, guys that follow the rules and are well within the parameters, but you need fighters. And that mix, and the ability to find that mix, that's perhaps more my role. We know Engapet from France. Yeah, you try being the coach of this guy. You can't say he's not a good player, he's one of the world's best. But you know about his lifestyle and the thing he likes to do? Yeah, it goes with the territory. It makes him who he is. And this is a guy who's creative and he says it's match point and I make this move and we win. Oh well. But you make him, you put him in a box and you say you don't do this, do this, do this, you lose him, he's gone. So the art is you put your ego in there, no, you must follow my way. Or you say, right, I don't like it, but if I can find a way to manage it, that it doesn't affect the team and it doesn't break and make cracks in our value system as a team, then what do they really want? What do they really want to do? They want to win. So if you can find a way to manage it, you're going to be using those guys when the chips are down.
I have a question.
Yes, sure.
About the guy who overslept.
Yeah. I'm not giving his name.
No, that's not the question. I wonder why the rest of the team didn't help him to be on time.
Yeah. I think he was wishing they'd have done that as well afterwards. It was bizarre because he was in a room with another guy who is a very responsible player, but that player had apparently woken him up, said you've got 20 minutes, and he said yeah okay my alarm's set. He packed his things and he's gone, and then he just didn't turn up. So when he arrived on the bus, he head down, he knows he's in trouble. So we drive to the airport, we get out of the bus, and the first thing he does is you want to talk now and you want to talk after. So listen, drink some coffee, we'll talk about it tomorrow. What's the point? You're going to blow up in front of the president, the players, you're going to make a problem bigger. But he knows he's done wrong, so that's the first part of the battle. Yes, I think the guy he was with is a responsible guy that thought everything was under control. But then maybe the play would have been that someone realises and they get out the bus before the general manager runs back upstairs to find out where he is. October, November, December, we've got a medical joker, we've got an injury, one of our starting middle players, the guy that we put in our plan to accommodate, he's out injured, so we've had to find a medical joker. I am rotating a lot with my outside spikers because the other guy that I brought in that was going to be my stable player and play with the block, well, for one reason or another, it's not really happening. I've got another player who's come in. Yeah, sorry. Medical joker. In Belgium, they've got this rule. At the moment, yeah, it's World War III between Roeselare and the Bond at the moment about medical joker. In Belgium, you have a rule where if one of your players gets injured, you can sign a replacement. Yeah. Outside of like the normal transfer window. So once the competition's begun, the player that's injured needs to be signed off for a period of minimum of 30 days. So he's injured and he's not coming back within those 30 days. The club can then apply and make an international transfer a player, and that player takes a role on the team. What wasn't clear is if I'm injured and you come and you play in my position, after 3 months when I'm fixed, if I come back, do you have to come out? Or do I come back and you stay in? Because then what we've done is we've got an extra player. At the time, we knew that our middle player had injured his shoulder and it was minimum 5 months. So when we did this, we double checked the rules, because in Belgium some of the rules is not very clear. Is that typical Belgium? No. Well, it wasn't very clear, so we made sure that it was clear and we had everything in writing. But this is where this dilemma is now with Roeselare and Rousseau. Right? So we had this medical joker, we're searching for some stability, and the brutal truth is that we are not on a level. We're trying to find some stability and we're trying to find our game. And we're winning, but we're not really in a particular flow. So again, compared to last year, the curve was down and then coming up, and now we are more on a level, but it's not really, we're missing something. It feels different. We're being confronted by ourselves. Guys that last year was a fun year, my first year in Belgium, it's good fun. Now I've been with national team, I come back and now I realise that the level's not very good against the lower teams, and I don't want to go to this team midweek and play again. You've been there, Marco. You go midweek and you play in one hall and there's 50 people, including the referee. And it's like, yeah, I don't want to be, I want to play Champions League and I want to play in front of 5,000 people like it was in the World Championships. But okay, this is part of the challenge. You need to get there, warm up, put your head on, find some motivation, the points, the stats, the scores, your personal performance, do your job and get the hell out of there as quick as you can. If that's your motivation, that's what you need to find. We were trying to find a way to compensate for what we weren't having, and I was doing a lot of personal reflection, because I felt that I'd got, by November, December time, I felt that I'd got one selection choice wrong. One key player was injured, and one player that had been a real stand-up guy for us the first season was doing his best, but his game wasn't where it was. There was something missing, and I felt that something missing was that he thought that coming back to Belgium, coming back to Maaseik, that he should have already been playing higher, because after the season that he had and the national team that he had, he needed a different kind of challenge. That said, the face of the outside world, you're champion. So you need to make sure that you are positive, that you're pushing, but inside, there was some turmoil. Yeah, we're trying to find, I don't have Walt as a sounding board anymore. Yeah, so my personal interaction with the technical director, well, it's me. So who am I going to speak to? How am I going to complain and moan and ask for ideas? my staff, yeah, but which staff? You don't want to give them the feeling that you're nervous and you're stressed and you let them start to worry. So as coach, who do you vent to? Who do you speak to? The wife and the dog at home get it all every time that you lose a game. And then we have a very special and a very heavy week. And this is perhaps the story of our season, that we had ups and downs, but much more turbulent ups and much more turbulent downs.
In de Champions League van het volleybal heeft Greenyard Maaseik gisteren gezorgd voor een stunt van formaat. De Maaslanders veegden de vloer aan met de Poolse landskampioen. In de eigen Steengoed Arena werd het 3-0. Een onverhoopte zege, waardoor voor Maaseik in de groepsfase van de Champions League weer alles mogelijk is.
Polen geldt zowat als het volleyballand bij uitstek. En als dan de Poolse kampioen op bezoek komt, dan weet je hoe laat het is. Maar Maaseik is allerminst onder de indruk van de vele vedettes en klimt, mede door een weergaloze Cox, al snel op een 15-10 voorsprong. De Polen komen nog terug tot 2019, maar de thuisploeg is genadeloos in het slot. Nieuwkomer Alex Grosdanov met de setbal 25-21.
En je voelt het al aankomen in de eerste set. Veel mensen gaan kijken naar Jolan natuurlijk, ja, en terecht. Maar collectief waren we sterk. En bij hun, je doet hem wel twijfelen, hè.
En twijfelen doen ze. Opnieuw een blitzstart van Maaseik in de tweede set. Wat een receptie van Dronkers en Jan Vermaan maakt het af, 12-6. De thuisfans in de sfeervolle Steengoed Arena weten niet goed wat ze meemaken, want Greenyard stond door. Een sterke Tamema met de 25-22. De derde set dan is een nagelbijter. Maaseik krijgt bij 24-22 2 matchballen, maar kan die niet verzilveren. Ook de Polen laten daarna 3 setballen liggen en dan mag Grosdanov serveren voor de wedstrijd. Hij zorgt voor Maasland delirium met een 29-27 en dus een droge 3-0.
Someone of the team do it, same feeling. We win against Krabbelgatu 3-0, yeah.
Ja, geweldig hè. Beetje zo'n dreamland denk ik hè. Van spelen tegen de Poolse kampioen en 3-0 winnen, wauw.
Is dit een van de beste wedstrijden die je van dit Maaseik al hebt gezien?
Dit jaar wel. Ja, dit jaar wel.
Met 21 punten wordt Johan Cox nog verkozen tot man van de match.
Je moet dat ploeg winnen, hè. Het is een heel moeilijke match tegen zo'n ploeg en zo alleen winnen deze match natuurlijk niet, hè. Maar ja, nog een degelijke match gespeeld, ja.
Het is fantastisch om ook vandaag met 3-0 te winnen en ook zo min mogelijk energie te verspillen naar zaterdag toe, want heel eerlijk gezegd, daar is de knop direct alweer om.
Zaterdag moet Maaseik opnieuw vol aan de bak, dan moet het proberen Roeselaar via een golden set uit de beker te kegelen.
We win against Belgrade, yeah. And like last year, we win against the champions of Poland, and then 3-4 days later we play Roeselaar at home in the return leg of the half final of the Cup of Belgium. So Maaseik and Roeselaar on the same side of the draw. We just beaten the Polish champions 3-0.
In het volleybal ging Greenyard Maaseik gisteren op zoek naar een ticket voor de bekerfinale in het Sportpaleis. Na de nederlaag in Roeselaar moest Maaseik gisteren met 3-1 of 3-0 winnen om een beslissende golden set af te dwingen. Het vertrouwen in een goede afloop was groot. Zeker nadat Maaseik dinsdag nog de Poolse landskampioen Belgatov versloeg in de Champions League.
Roeselaar is met een duidelijk plan naar de Steengoed Arena afgezakt. Maaseik vanaf de eerste set meteen onder druk zetten. En dat lukt vrij aardig. Ook zonder de geblesseerde Tuurlings. Zijn vervanger Loekien doet het uitstekend. Hier is hij met het blok op Cox en zo leidde de West-Vlamingen meteen met 0-1. Maaseik mag zo geen set meer weggeven en speelt dus met het mes op de keel. Bij 23-24 in de tweede set is Roeselaar nog maar 1 punt verwijderd van het Sportpaleis. Cox gaat de meubelen via een blok. En even later is Cox daar opnieuw, deze keer zelf met het blok. 31-29 en 1-1. Maaseik kruipt door het oog van de naald. De Maaslanders krijgen een vertrouwensboost, maar het blijft knokken voor elk punt tegen een stug Roeselaar. Ook gaat ook de derde set naar de thuisploeg, deze keer met 25-21. In set 4 kijkt Maaseik al snel tegen een 0-4 achterstand aan, maar dat weten de mannen van Banks nog recht te trekken. Ten slotte draaien ze de rollen om. Wie anders dan Johan Cox met de 25-20 en de 3-1. De Steengoed Arena is het delirium nabij. Een golden set moet dus beslissen wie er naar de bekerfinale mag. Daarin is Maaseik onherkenbaar. Hij loopt vanaf de eerste bal achter de feiten aan. Roeselaar wint de golden set overtuigend met 8-15. Plaatst zich zo voor de finale.
Het was constant gevecht, geknok. En dat was denk ik heel leuk om te zien voor de supporters. Ook heel leuk om te spelen. Maar ja, goed.
Maar ja, natuurlijk, dat is de golden set. En dat pijn hebben we gevoeld vorig jaar nog eens binnenst. En nu hebben we datzelfde gevoel na dit wedstrijd. Ja, ik hou ervan, hè.
Een week met gemengde gevoelens dus voor de Maaseikkenaren. Dinsdag euforie in de Champions League, nu de treurnis naar de gemiste finale.
Een paar dagen geleden waren we inderdaad nog heel aan het springen aan de wedstrijd en nu een paar dagen daarna klikt liep bij hem in de sport. Het kan elke kant uitgaan en dat is nog iets bewezen deze week.
Do we see a theme, guys, coming back from last year? Some conclusion from last year? Oh, maybe? Pressure, no pressure. Expectation, no expectation. You expect to win from Belkatov? No, play at home and kill them. You have to win from Roeselaar, lose the first set after being up by 5 points, win the next 3 to avoid going out, and then completely crash in the golden set. And that was something that kept coming back in our season, this idea with this golden set, this 5th set, and we were struggling. We were trying almost too hard, forcing, pushing, being aggressive, but we lost our way and we lost our composure. Okay? Go through this. We talked about this already. Okay. Bumps in the road this year compared to last year. Well, we ended up having 2 medical jokers. In February and March we were discussing Yelta's contract. Yelta's an important player for the team. He's well known and well respected and loved in Maaseik, and rightly so. He's the captain of the team, and we're talking and discussing his contract in February and March. Something that couldn't be done at the end of the season, wants to go forward from both sides, and this is really, really tough. February, March is an important phase. Yelta wants to know where he stands, what his options are, we want to know what we're going to do, and this was very tricky. You've got Bartons, the guy who was talking at the end there, reception attacker, setter and opposite. They're at the end of the contract. We pulled them in December and again in January, and he said, listen, you guys are under contract, what's your idea? Yeah, when the possibility's there, I'd like to stay. For these 2 guys, I'm very happy, but I'm going to check what's possible outside of Belgium because I feel ready for the next step. So we agree that we're going to keep the doors open, the communication line is open, keep each other in touch and see how things develop. And then the second opposite that played in Roeselaar, rumour starts that he's already signed in Maaseik, which is just gossip. Yeah? But this goes straight to my opposite. And then you can imagine what happens now. That's when we get the comment from one player about, to me, we all know what it means if you don't win a championship. This is because I called his bluff and said I've heard this, this and this, and I see this, this and this. He says to me, all my words you change. I said, well, I don't change, this is the fact. Yeah, but the pressure's on you, coach, because we all won't know what happens if you don't win a championship. This was in March time. Yeah? Then I go and win the coach of the year, where I think everyone, probably including me, thought it would be the coach of Roeselaar, because by that time he's won the Super Cup and he's won the Cup. They knocked us out in the semi-finals, they win the Cup. Yeah? Then we have another medical joker, number 2, we bring Jan Zimmerman, I won't play it, but we bring in a player before the playoffs because Blankenau gets injured. So you've got some turmoil in the team, you've got some dissent with one of the players, you've got rumour about maybe your captain stays or goes, you've got three of your starting players that are end of contract, and one of them already thinks that they found a replacement. We're talking, we're communicating, but it's really becoming more and more and more turbulent. And we end up with this scenario where we have setter number 1 gets injured, setter number 2 comes in and plays 1 game and we lose 2-3 against Roeselaar. Does a good job, but with all respect it's clearly a second setter. And then we contact Jan Zimmerman, this is his best side, the back side. We contact this guy and we bring him in within 48 hours, we bring him in. Yeah? And we have to try and play the rest of the finals with him and make sure that we can at least try and qualify, hit the ground running, yeah, and we play this match, I won't show it, but we end up playing and it's all or nothing. We have to do it now, now's the moment. Zimmerman comes in and he has his quality, and we win. And we win 3-0 at home from Elst, we win 3-1 in Elst. Everybody's happy apart from one guy. Who's not happy? Yes, second setter. Comes into my office, sits down, hey coach, yeah. The team's ready to play with me, I'm ready to play with them, we can win, everyone's confident, and we just lost 2-3 in Roeselare. And it's like, yeah Steph, like you're doing a really good job, but we can't play the rest of the finals with one setter. So you've got to try and let him understand again that despite his disappointment, what is best for the team. He's worked 2 years in the background as second setter, but he doesn't have the quality that Blankenau has. We're not going to go as far as we can with him and his quality, with all respect. I know it because I've known him for 2 years. So I tell him the truth, we speak about it, he's not happy, he walks around with a face like this. Yelta speaks with him, I speak with him, and within 3 or 4 days he manages to turn it around. But it's a young guy, he's disappointed, it's normal. He wants to play. Why do you take a medical joker? And at that moment he's not rationalising and putting the team in front of himself, he's acting on emotion. And I think that's normal. It's a young guy, it's a normal reaction. Are you going to be angry with him? Are you going to be upset? No, we try and talk with him and find a way. But the most important is that the club needs a replacement and we need to try and win. The words we use this year in the final 5, best of 5, so we make it to the playoff finals, and we talk about character, composure, and being the best version of yourself. One coach asked me in the break, you've got Yelta who's fired up, he's emotional, he's aggressive, and he needs that. He needs that adrenaline and that fighting spirit. You've got other guys that come from different countries with a completely different background, and they don't take well to someone being 5 centimetres from their face and screaming at them. Makes them go tense and makes them get stressed. So we have a big discussion again about what you need and what the team needs, and how the delivery and the message are important. Yeah? And how we need to contribute, and we need to clarify what it is we're going to bring to the team. And we try and understand a little bit better about that we need everybody. Yelta needs to be Yelta. You can't do Yelta. You're not allowed to shout anymore. You're not allowed to be aggressive anymore. Then you've not got a player. He needs to be that guy, but he needs to be able to channel it slightly differently to allow a few other guys the chance to be themselves. Okay? And we won on sheer will and determination. And my talk about Medellin in year 2 turned into, really simple guys, in game 5 we played 4 games, it's 2-2, no team has won at home. We go and play in Roeselare for the championship, and my team talk was really, there's times tonight guys where we're going to need heroes. Yeah? You need to go way deep inside, physically and mentally, and just put everything out on the court. Yeah? And we have to go all in. It's one series. We play 4 games, 3 of the games for 3-2-2-3, and we have 1 game to play. And it's all or nothing.
Green Yard Maaseik gisteravond. De Maaseikkenaren verlengden hun landstitel na een nooit geziene ommekeer in Roeselare. In de 5e en beslissende wedstrijd kwam Maaseik 2-0 achter, maar de mannen van Banks deden de wedstrijd opnieuw kantelen en wonnen met 2-3. Maaseik wint zo een knotsgekke finale-reeks waarbij in de 5 titelwedstrijden telkens de bezoekende ploeg won.
Woensdag hadden de mannen van Banks nog een stevige opdolving gekregen toen Roeselare de stand weer gelijk trok door te komen winnen in Maaseik. In een uitverkocht Schiervelden wilden de West-Vlamingen de titel dan nog graag in eigen huis vieren. De thuisploeg leidt na 25-22 en 25-23 ook alles perfect onder controle te hebben.
Jullie 2 jaar lang gestonden, niemand gaf nog een stuiver voor jullie kans. Hoe is dat dan bij jullie? Ik ga nog geen stuiver meer voor Tom. Nee. Ik moet wel zeggen, eind de eerste set en in de tweede set toonden we wel tekenen van herstel.
Roeselare lijkt dus op weg naar het kampioenschap, maar Maaseik knopt zich opnieuw in de wedstrijd. Het wint zelfs overtuigend set 3 en 4 met 16-25 en 19-25. En dus moet voor de 4e keer in deze finale reeks een tiebreak de beslissing brengen. In die beslissende set staat Johan Fox opnieuw uitstekend te serveren. Maaseik loopt uit tot 10-5. De titel brengt.
En die tiebreak dan, moet ook zin is op.
Dat slaat er helemaal nergens op, man. Ik bedoel, je staat weer 10-5 voor en dan komen zij weer tot 11-11 denk ik. En, maar ja, goed, weet je, dat is achteraf makkelijk lullen. Maar ik stond er wel op het moment van dit gaat het door niet nog een keer gebeuren.
En dat gebeurt inderdaad niet. Kapitein Maan leidt zijn manschappen naar de matchbal. Alex Kosdanov plaatst het orgelpunt. Maaseik wint met 2-3 in Roeselare en is na een slotende finale reeks opnieuw de beste van België.
it's been the most intense, energy-sapping, stressful playoff series I've ever experienced as a player or as a coach. We played 5 games, no team won at home. 4 of the 5 games were 2-3 games. Yeah? We play this game, we're 2-0 behind. We come back, we win. Yeah, we win another game. We start playing better statistically. Rousselard stayed the same, and we play better. In 2 or 3 areas, we make some changes, and we start to play better. So we find our way back in the game. We get into the 5th set, and the guys are like, right, we've been here, we've lost the golden set in the half-final of the Cup. We've lost after being 2-0 ahead against Berlin in the Champions League. We've lost to Gdansk. We've lost again to Rousselard to lose at home. Yeah, 3-1 to lose the home court advantage. It's not going to happen again. Yeah, 1 chance, 10-5 ahead. Yeah, what am I thinking as coach? 5 more side outs. 5 more side outs, and it's the promised land. Close your eyes, blink. A challenge, a challenge, a change. It's 11-11. Walk up and down. Be calm for the boys. Inside. Overdrive. Huh? We keep going, we keep going, we keep going. And when that last ball went in and he spiked the ball off the block, the only feeling that I had was just empty, like I've just done, like I've got nothing left. This has got to be one of the best achievements that the boys have shown. How many times in this season, not last year, this year, we had injuries, we had turmoil, we had problems, we had guys being late, we had issues, we had arguments, we had 5-set games and losses, we had games where we're up by 5 points and we lose. We have golden sets where we've lost the first set, we've won the next 3, we play the golden set at home and we lose. Every time compared to the year before, almost, yes. This year, almost, none. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. And then in the last game, when it's all or nothing, we find a way to win. Looking back, I know it's late, guys, I'll wrap up. Part of what we said, despite all the best, the well-researched and the thought-out plans, sometimes shit just happens, guys. You've got to roll with it, you've got to accept it. Part of this journey, this year, last year, it's all part of life. You can't predict what's going to happen. You can have your plan, you can prepare, you can review, you can do, but it's all part of the journey. And I think as coach, you've got to be flexible, you've got to try and take it into perspective and find a way forward, keep moving forward. There's always something you can do. At 2-0 down, I'm saying to the players, if we do this, this and this, we're going to win. We're really close to this team. They're playing good, and we are not quite there yet, but we're coming, we're getting our momentum. If we find our level, we're going to win, guys. And they're all looking me in the eyes. Even the guys that I had words with and I have a problem with, they're all looking you in the eyes and they're nodding. And you're thinking, right, at least with this we can do something. And you give solutions, we stay positive, make them believe. What's the point in breaking them down? Make them believe, try and help. Yeah? Don't step in the negative, it's difficult sometimes. You're human, you feel the pain, you feel that things aren't going the way you want, but try and make something positive from it. Yeah? This idea about you can lead a horse to water, you can't make him drink, you can't change everybody into your role. You can try, but some people just are the way they are. You can try and help them, you can try and give them some perspective, you can try and help them understand your mentality and what's good for the team or what's good for them, but they just don't get it. And that's just the way it is. You can try, but not everyone's going to accept it. Yeah? But this is the most energy-sapping, mentally challenging win. So this title, the first title special, but this title this year has been the most toughest or probably 10 times harder than the year before. And I think this is my final message for tonight. That when you work like we do, you work in a sport that you love with your players, you try and help, you experience the ups and the downs, the highs and the lows. Don't forget that it's okay to take a moment to enjoy the good stuff. Not just winning a title, but even when it's a regular competition game. For me personally, Saturday we play, Sunday's free, and Monday we start again with the preparation for the next game. We do a small review, and then we start ready for the Wednesday game or the Saturday game. Remember to enjoy the good stuff, guys, because you spend so much of your time and effort on it. It's allowed to be happy sometimes that you do some good stuff, right? So don't only see the bad stuff. Don't only be too negative and too hard on yourself. Try and enjoy your hard work and some of the things that do go well, because sooner or later you're going to win. And when everything clicks and you throw a little bit of luck into the mix, maybe you win one time a championship. Yeah. Thanks a lot for your attention. It's been really long, I appreciate it. Let's get off to the